Happy birthday, United Women in Faith. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Day of Giving 2023. Our theme this year is The Future is Now. We'll be sharing with you so many amazing things. We'll be starting off with a welcome from our General Secretary. We'll also be sharing updates on the impact of our work in climate justice, international ministries, Deaconess Home Missioner Community, National Mission Institution, and racial justice. We will also be taking you along with us as we visit 4 of our amazing national mission institutions. And we will also be sharing highlights from Voices in the Fields, a talk with our newest regional missionary, and of course, worship and reflection. To get us started, Christy Campos will be opening us with prayer.
Kenya, I am so excited. I love our theme, don't you?
Yes.
The future is now. Well, I'm Deaconess Christy Campos. I am so happy to be here with you today, and I'm so glad that you could join us for a full day of exciting programming. I would like to start us off in prayer. If you could please bow with me. Loving Creator, we feel your presence on this special day. We ask that you bless the efforts of all who are participating in this Day of Giving. Continue to bless the exciting work of United Women in Faith and help us support our important mission and justice work, making a positive difference in the lives of women, children, and youth. Be with those watching today and touch their hearts. We pray that the donations given today will multiply and overflow to support all the work done in your name. Thank you for the support that our members and donors provide, dear God. We receive so much from you and therefore have much to give. Help us to share in the blessings of giving as well as the happiness of receiving, that your love may be more widely shared through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Well, we're going to start off today hearing from our CEO and General Secretary, Harriet Olson. Welcome, Harriet.
Welcome, sisters. Welcome, friends. Isn't it wonderful to be connected on this Facebook Day of Giving event? It's a wonderful thing to be able to connect through all these different media, Facebook being one, and whether you're with us live during the event as it proceeds, or whether you catch it later, the way that we're connected through digital means is just emblematic of the ways that we're connected by mission, by the love of God, and by the work that we do for women, children, and youth. So thank you for your participation and your enlistment in the work of United Women in Faith. Now, it hardly seems like I need to tell you, but I will mention that the Day of Giving is March 23rd, because it's the day that the first meeting of women took place in Boston in 1869. And since that time, women have gathered and learned about the needs of women, children, and youth, and have worked together to plan how we could respond. The Day of Giving is just one of those ways. And you know, because you are givers, that the giving is important because it allows us to help people who are in situations very different from ours, people who are close to us, and people who are at great distances. The giving helps us to grow together. It helps us to support the work, and it's an investment in the future of an organization that we believe in. The Legacy Endowment Fund is a permanent endowment fund of United Women in Faith, which means that the giving that we collect today and the giving that we have collected to this time will remain in place, and that the income generated will support the work of the entity for many years to come. I want to thank you all for the many ways that you contribute and participate in the work of United Women in Faith. You volunteer, you make calls, you send letters, you speak up for issues of justice and mercy, and you give. And friends, we're so excited to be able to say on this Day of Giving that we have a matching gift from the Scranton Women's Leadership Center in Seoul, Korea. You may know that the Scranton Center is the fruit of mission of our foremothers many years ago, and that these funds today are still equipping women to live to their full potential and to serve the world, which we know that God loves. So this is a day of celebration. It's a day of memory, but it's a day of planning for the future, investing in the future, and giving for the future. Throughout our session today, you'll hear about the ways to give, and I won't belabor them now, but I know that you're familiar with them and that you've used them. And I encourage you to join me in using them today as we celebrate this day of giving, when we plan for the future, plant our feet, and do the work that's in front of us now. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Harriet. And here are ways that you can participate in the Day of Giving. You can go to uwfaith.org/Day of Giving, or the phone lines are open today from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you can call 1-800-278-7771. That's 1-800-278-7771. And you can text GIVE to 20503. And by mail, you can send a check to United Women in Faith, Attention Legacy. That's at 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 1500, New York, New York, 10115. And remember to write Day of Giving in the memo section. And again, if you have any questions at all, please call 1-800-278-7771. We have many waiting to answer your calls.
There are so many different ways that each of us can contribute to building a better future for women, children, and youth. One of the key ways for me is connecting to this organization's history as a mission-focused organization and really looking at the world around me, at all of the various things that are happening in our world, and thinking, how can I expand my knowledge on these topics? How can I, from a place of faith, engage these topics, and how can I contribute to make tangible changes to these areas so that the future that women, children, and youth inherit looks tangibly different and tangibly better than the one that we live in today.
The word of God for the people of God, from Luke chapter 6, verse 38. Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back.
Hi, friends. I'm Shannon Pretty, staff at United Women in Faith. And recently I visited Cunningham Children's Home in Urbana, Illinois, one of our national mission institutions. It began in 1859 and has grown to what you will see today. Let's learn more. Hello, United Women in Faith. It is our Day of Giving, and I am here in Urbana, Illinois with at the Cunningham Children's Home, and I am with Ginger and Brooke, the Advancement and Development Officers, and they are going to share their answers to what are you doing to make a better future for women, youth, and children today.
Well, I think it starts with the wonderful staff that we have and the idea that they really look closely at trauma and how trauma impacts our kids' behaviors, and how the youth and families that we work with in the community, how they have had experiences to trauma and how now they're navigating difficult life situations. And I think our team really does have a trauma-informed lens when they're working with our youth and families.
So that's helping to develop coping skills to manage stress, advice on how to navigate, the challenges, whether it's needing more support in a local school or if their youth is coming to actually live with us on our campus as part of our residential treatment program. It's about our staff helping to provide additional support. And that's different for every youth and family, right? When you're working with trauma, to face the challenging life situations head on and give them hope. We always say at Cunningham, hope begins here. And we really think that our staff live and breathe that every day with the work and the support they're providing to our youth and families. So as Cunningham continued to evolve really over the last 20 years, that's been, while yes, being a home for children, we've been more of a temporary landing spot where we provide youth that are mainly in DCFS care, therapeutic tools and support to help them develop better coping skills. And their time with us is supposed to be much shorter. So on average, we have youth that live with us for 2 to 3 years. And we're really grateful that in 2006, we expanded the footprint of our campus. We built the new Spiritual Life Center that we're standing in now. And then as recently as 2019, we finished the new Knoll Education Center. All of these construction projects were done in conjunction with support from the United Women in Faith, helping to be ambassadors for our message and to help really rally others to believe in our mission and raise the funds needed to break ground and proceed with helping us develop facilities that, again, better met the current needs of the youth and families that we serve.
You've heard it here first, folks. We are at Urbana, Illinois at the Cunningham Children's Home, and your gifts to the Legacy Fund will keep this program moving forward. They keep the work of United Women in Faith moving forward. Again, this Day of Giving is just getting started, and we can't wait to be a part of it with you.
Thank you for always showing your faith in action to support the efforts that we have here in our youth and families at the local level. We're always blown away with how our wonderful United Women in Faith answer the call.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
United Women in Faith coming to you from Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, Cunningham Children's Home. Thank you for being part of our faith tradition where we offer a hope and a vision so every child can thrive. In education, in community, in our residential program, all we are is because of you, and we're so glad to be partners with you. Myself, 400 of my team members, all missionaries doing God's work. Thank you and God bless.
Proceeds from Day of Giving support the Legacy Endowment Fund, which is a permanently invested endowment that supports the work of improving the lives of women, children, and youth at home and abroad. Gifts to the Legacy Endowment Fund build a financial resource that ensures United Women in Faith can carry out its vital programs and activities for many years to come.
Next, we'll be hearing more about our climate justice work and how it really connects to our theme this year, which is The Future is Now. And right now that work is just so vital. And sharing with us will be Ilka Vega. Ilka?
Hi, United Women in Faith sisters. My name is Ilka Vega, and I'm so proud to be part of this bold and amazing sisterhood of faith for over 13 years. And I'm so thankful to United Women in Faith for giving me the language of social justice. Now, as Executive for Economic and Environmental Justice for United Women in Faith, I want to share with you how your efforts and contributions support the work of climate justice. United Women in Faith has a long history of caring for God's creation. Since the 1990s, we've had an environmental justice office and led and supported many forms of advocacy and campaigns for environmental and climate justice issues. Many of us can remember our Be Just, Be Green campaigns, or our 13 Steps to Sustainability guidelines that we still use up to today, and many more. Today, our Just Energy for All campaign continues this legacy of caring for God's people and creation. We work to mobilize our community to advance clean and just energy solutions that help us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and address the climate crisis. We also work in solidarity to protect the communities most impacted by the climate-related disasters and by the impacts of fossil fuel extraction. We work for a transition that is held in a just and equitable manner, addressing the climate crisis is really a matter of justice. And we as Christians are called to do justice. Micah 6:8 puts it simply, God has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does God require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. It's a matter of justice because both people and creation are suffering because of the climate crisis. Globally, countries that have contributed the least to the climate crisis are suffering some of the worst impacts and are unable to recover. And at home, those that have the least often pay the highest cost for fossil fuel energy with both their money and their health. And Hurricane Ian alone in the United States and Cuba caused more than $100 billion in damages and losses and 160 fatalities. Creation is suffering because of this unprecedented climate changes. It's a matter of justice because we're losing biodiversity at unprecedented rates, and it's also homes that are being lost and people's lives that are being lost. It's a matter of justice because up to 1 billion people could be forced to flee their homes due to climate-related disasters by 2050, due to rising waters, severe droughts, other climate-related disasters, but also because of the increased instability and violence due to these conditions and lack of resources. It's a matter of justice because women are disproportionately impacted. 80% of those displaced by the climate crisis are women and girls. And they're also 14 times as likely to die as a result of these disasters compared to men. Together, we stand in solidarity with those most impacted by the climate crisis and by the extractive fuel industry, and demand that they are included in the decisions concerning them. Together, we advocate for healthy communities free from fossil fuel pollution and the dangers of these extractive industries. Together, we work to advance 100% clean, renewable, and just energy solutions that engage communities and prioritize equitable investments for those most impacted and historically marginalized. It takes both policy changes and also changes to our infrastructure. So sustaining our work is important, but we must also remember the urgency of the climate crisis and that the deadline to do something is quickly approaching. Fortunately, there's a lot we can still do and a lot that we've been doing. Last year alone, together, we took over 7,700 legislative actions towards just energy and climate justice. Federally, with allies, we saw the launching of the Justice 40 initiative to promote investments for environmental justice communities and those most impacted. We also saw the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, which, while not perfect, still very significant funding sources for climate action and clean energy jobs. At the international level, we had the opportunity to represent United Women in Faith at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27 in Egypt, and represent the faith community advocating among allies to see the Loss and Damage Fund established, a very important fund to support climate vulnerable countries so that those that have contributed the least but have suffered the most can begin to recover. We've gotten far, but we still have a lot to do. So to help us in continuing advancing climate justice through a just energy transition, our Just Energy for All campaign focuses on 3 main areas of work. First, cultivating our sisterhood as women of faith by building capacity and facilitating more educational resources and fellowship spaces, including webinars and working groups, and forming a national group from different jurisdictions so that we can continue to be more connected to issues on the ground. Secondly, advancing a just energy transition from the ground up by empowering local communities and individuals to plan their energy future and discuss how they can access federal grants to finance renewable energy and energy efficiency upgrades. And lastly, continuing our advocacy at the federal level to increase support for climate justice at home and abroad, and contribute as the United States our fair share of funding for climate finance and loss and damage funds, and also committing to a just energy transition at home and emissions reductions. As you can see, we're here to serve you and protect women, children, and youth by continuing to mobilize for climate justice and make sure the just energy transition is a reality. And we have many success stories that your contributions and work make possible, from testifying in hearings to calling Congress to sending postcards together, installing renewable energy in your home, your houses of worship, the organizations you love. Many, many opportunities. As you can see, we're committing to serve you and to protect women, children, and youth by continuing to mobilize for climate justice and make sure the just energy transition is a reality. And we have many success stories that your work and contributions make possible. From testifying in hearings, calling Congress, sending postcards together, to installing renewable energies in our homes, houses of worship, organizations we love, and many, many more.
For about every 100 cars that were idling in their car line, that those cars were making about 1 ton, 2,000 pounds of carbon dioxide every month. So our preschool audit did a really great job of getting our volunteers trained and having a really great practice of how to actually conduct an idling audit, but it also gave us really great data to take to the public schools to show them what we estimated their idling impact in terms of gas costs, gas consumed, and carbon dioxide produced for each of those schools.
I want you to see the joy in this picture. I am standing on a ladder 2 stories up in the air. It's 25 degrees outside. The air hurts my face, but that smile there of mine is from 3 years of work that's culminating in a project that we're going to talk about today. And it's 3 of my loves coming together: United Women in Faith, Just Transition, and solar energy. So I'm very excited to talk to you about how all those things came together today. Inspired by the success that I saw at Cunningham Children's Home, I set my attention to Leslie Bates Davis Neighborhood House, the second national mission institution in Illinois that United Women in Faith helps to run. I applied for some funds through United Women in Faith through their Just Energy for All campaign to try to get a project done at Leslie Bates Davis Neighborhood House.
We have a lot to celebrate, and it's your gifts that make this possible. So thank you for supporting United Women in Faith and our climate justice work.
We're so excited today to give special thanks to our first ever corporate sponsor for Day of Giving, Westpath. Thank you, Westpath. Did you know that your gifts today on Day of Giving will be matched dollar for dollar by a generous donor who has agreed to match our Day of Giving gifts up to $100,000. So give early and your gift will be doubled.
It gives me great joy, and I'm grateful and truly humbled in knowing that I can do my part in giving back a portion of what God has given me to be in service for others. That's why I prayerfully commit to giving to the Legacy Endowment Fund in the 3 giving categories. As a legacy builder, donating $18.69 per month helps supports a vision for living out our purpose. As a friend of Legacy major donor, I am reminded of our bold sisterhood, reaching out, forming relationships which strengthens our connections. As an 1869 Society member, naming United Women in Faith as one of the beneficiaries on my rollover IRA account will help continue the legacy started by our foremothers. The future is now. Let's put our faith, hope, and love in action. Secure the future for United Women in Faith.
Have you considered becoming a member of the 1869 Society? Members of the 1869 Society have committed to a planned gift to the Legacy Endowment Fund through their estate. There are many ways to do so. Consider a percentage of your estate or life insurance. or retirement fund, an IRA charitable rollover gift, proceeds from property of sales or appreciated securities. However you decide to make a planned gift, please consider leaving a legacy today. So beyond the 1869 Society, you know how many different ways we have for our donors to give. And that's so wonderful. It's so great to know that we can put our faith in action through giving, because giving really is a spirituality. And so why don't you tell us a little bit more about some ways to give today?
Yes, Christy, there are so many ways to give. And, it's amazing that our members, put their faith into action, by giving. So one of the ways you can give is by giving online to uwfaith.org/day of giving. And then you can give by phone, and we have, individuals waiting to answer your phone calls today from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 1-800-278-7771. And you can text GIVE to 20503. Really simple. And you can send a check by mail, and you can put it in the mail today. United Women in Faith, attention, Legacy, and that's at 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 1500, New York, 10115. And remember to write Day of Giving in the memo section.
And Kenya, my favorite way to give is text to give. And we have a new text to give number and a new text to give messaging system, which is great. But I also think it is so easy to give online right now through our system. And I also enjoy doing it that way. But today, I think what I would like to do the most is call in so that I could speak to some of our, how many people are answering calls today? There's a bunch of volunteers, aren't there?
Yes, we have a lot of volunteers eager to answer the phone lines. And, they've been on the phone line since 8 a.m. this morning. And it's so amazing, so thankful.
Henry Nouwen, the author of The Spirituality of Fundraising, writes, "When we give ourselves to planting and nurturing love here on earth, our efforts will reach out beyond our own chronological existence. Indeed, if we raise funds for the creation of a community of love, we are helping God build the kingdom. We are doing exactly what we are supposed to do as Christians."
Have you participated in a Faith Talks? United Women in Faith have Faith Talk events twice a month. They are live on Zoom, and there are podcast recordings. So please look on our website for more information. United Women in Faith members are rooted by their faith, motivated by their faith, and moved by their faith to action. I am so pleased right now to be able to introduce a fellow deaconess and friend, Renee Hayes. She's going to give us some worship and reflection time. Renee?
Hi, I'm Renee Hayes, a deaconess from the Western North Carolina Conference. I grew up and still live in a small town in the center of our state, and still attend the same small church where my family attended, where I went through confirmation, went to Bible school and youth group, Sunday school, and worship all my life. And like many small churches and small towns, we spend a lot of time fondly looking back to the past when things seemed golden, often to the point of getting almost stuck there. The idea that the future is now can be hard to wrap our minds around, especially when we're looking in the rearview mirror toward what used to be. In Luke 17, Jesus also dealt with church folks of his day who seemed stuck. Pharisees may have been preoccupied with Israel's glory days in the past and the rules and regulations that they believed set their faith and themselves apart from those they believed did not measure up. And they often questioned Jesus about what the future held for righteous folks like them. In the 17th chapter of Luke, verses 20 and 21, we read in the Message version these words: Jesus, grilled by the Pharisees on when the kingdom of God would come, answered, The kingdom of God doesn't come by counting the days on the calendar, nor when someone says, "Look here," or "There it is." And why? Because God's kingdom is already among you. Much like us, they missed what's right in front of them. Jesus often used parables to describe the attributes of God's kingdom. In Matthew 13, Jesus says 6 times, "The kingdom of heaven is like wheat and weeds growing together in a field, like a tiny mustard seed that produces and grows into a huge bush, like yeast mixed with dough, like a hidden treasure, like a valuable pearl, even like a net full of fish." These parables form 3 pairs which teach 3 truths. The parables of the mustard seed and the yeast show that life in the kingdom may look small and insignificant at first. That's why it's easy to miss. But in the end, it will grow to have amazing results. That's why we should never underestimate the importance of small, everyday things done for God and in relationship with others. The parables of the hidden treasure and the valuable pearl illustrate that the kingdom of God is of infinite value. No matter what our discipleship costs us, we should rejoice. Living in a beloved community is worth it. And the parables of the wheat and the weeds and the net full of fish tell us about the kingdom's future. In the first parable, the wheat grows side by side with the weeds until they're harvested. And in the second, the same net catches all sorts of fish that can be separated later if necessary. Both parables imply that we should be content living in relationship with each other and letting God do the sorting at the end of the age. Now, we may look forward to a world and a time in which God's will is done perfectly rather than partially. But Jesus said, the kingdom of God is here. His audience did not need to wait for a conquering Messiah to rid them of their perceived enemies, nor should we be preoccupied with judging whether others are or are not fit to be part of the kingdom. God is already ruling, and we should be living in God's will now, offering love, mercy, and forgiveness to each other every day. Even if we can't transform this earth into a heavenly paradise all on our own, doing good is still good. We can still try to make our world, our neighborhood, our church a better place. More like a peaceable kingdom could be, as we live in relationship with others, where we live justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. This is part of what it means every time we pray for God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. When things go wrong, as they often do, when we suffer setbacks, when the vulnerable are harmed, not helped, by someone else's version of the good news, we can gain the strength to persevere with the assurance that the fullness of God's kingdom will come to pass. When we try to make the world a better place, but encounter obstacles along the way, we don't give up. We're assured in Matthew 6:33 that good will prevail in the end. Seek first God's kingdom and God's righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. After Jesus' resurrection, even the disciples asked him in Acts chapter 1, verse 6, "Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom of Israel?" But Jesus did not say yes or no. He simply told them that there was work to do, and they had the power to do it. I am so grateful for the role United Women in Faith has played for over a century and a half, stepping out in faith, first to provide medical care to women across the globe, fostering spiritual growth and missional outreach of many kinds, equipping women and youth with opportunities to develop leadership skills for creating beloved communities throughout our church's broad reach, and often being its conscience in areas of racial justice and the status and role of women as clergy and laity. And I do believe that we've been created for such a time as this. And I've also been blessed personally by this sisterhood. From watching as a child, as my mom's Wesleyan Service Guild serve our church and our community, to serving myself as a district and then a conference social action coordinator, and now becoming a deaconess, serving as a faith and community worker here at home and also abroad. This sisterhood acts in faith to tackle the hard work of the world without hesitation, believing that love in action can change the world. May we continue to support the work of mission locally and globally with women, children, and youth. The seeds we plant now provide growth for the future. The kingdom is here. The future is now. Let us pray. Creator God, who made all people in your image, enlighten the darkness of our hearts and give us true faith, certain hope, perfect charity, and just knowledge. We give you thanks for our birth in water and in spirit. Guide us as we strive to live fully into your kingdom. Grant us breath and rest and power in action for justice as we work to create your beloved community right where we are, among all those we meet. Together, let us listen and be willing to go wherever the Holy Spirit guides us. Amen. We close with a song from Assembly in 2022, which is also part of this year's Call to Prayer service. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love, by Melanie Moore.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared, and I'm scared too. But here I am, right next to you. We gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. We gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love.
you so much, Renee. I had the pleasure of visiting one of our national mission institutions and meeting with Scott Fuller, Vice President of Advancement, and Deaconess Susan Stroop, Advancement Service Coordinator at Murphy Hearst Children Center, an almost 100-year-old organization. They focus on meeting the needs of abused and neglected young people through residential treatment, placements in specialized foster care, and community programs that serve at-risk youth and families. I really have to say this is one of the favorite parts of my job, connecting and meeting in this way.
So tell me about the work that you do here. Tell me about what does that look like? So how do the children, come here, and what's the process in regards to just getting them the help that they need and, really transitioning back into society or another space?
Yeah. Well, all the children who are placed with us in our care come from either Department of Juvenile Justice or Department of Family and Children's Services. As we were talking about earlier, we're dealing with children who have behavioral and emotional disorders that stem from those childhood traumas. And so they've come into the custody of the state. And so we are working with that population of youth, anywhere from birth up to age 21, because we've got families we recruit to be foster parents who are taking in those younger children in sibling groups. And then we have our campus here where we have up to 75 beds to serve children, those older teens and youth, even those a transitional living program for those older teens who are getting ready to transition into independent living. So we're serving that population, and so they'll come to us through the admission process. We get all kinds of referrals. Every day, phone calls from different corners of the state. Do you have a place? Do you have a place? Do you have a place? Because the reality is we're in a state of emergency when it comes to child welfare. There are not enough beds, rooms, homes to house the scores of languishing youth. So we have our limited numbers in beds, right, of families, and we keep working to open more homes through recruitment of foster care, that type of thing. But so we get a lot more referrals. We can get I think it was last year during COVID, it was like almost 3,000 requests, but we could only take in maybe, that year, maybe, I don't know, 70 kids or something. It was just this ridiculous, the state of emergency. But the kids come here, and we have a number of things. We have our therapists on hand. Each child has a case plan that we're working through, as well as an educational plan, because many of the kids are behind, academically, as you can imagine. So we have our campus academy here, York Academy, meeting educational needs. We have our therapists. We have our staff that's working with our kids every day to help implement that case plan, that therapeutic plan. We have a robust recreational programming with animal-assisted therapy. We have an equine, center. Kids get introduced to horses, dogs, donkeys, you name it. And so
chickens, ducks, whatever's on campus.
We have art therapy. We have a number of areas that allow our children to experience, for the first time, the population that we're serving, for the first time in their life, real positive, meaningful experiences, childhood milestones that really help form and shape their life. And this really becomes the first place for many of them where they feel cared for, protected, where they have a positive bonding experience because others have abused or exploited them. And so, and many times it's a horse or an animal that they're bonding with because there's a lack of trust that, and so we work to help build that trust so the children are able to process through their pains and to see that their history, the painful past, doesn't have to drive and dominate their future.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you said you got 3,000, and so do you get requests out of the state, or is it only within
the state of Georgia?
Within the state of Georgia. Wow. And of those kids, let's say, okay, 75 kids, how long do they usually stay here?
It varies. Six to seven months on average.
But that has actually gotten longer. COVID I think affected it somehow to make that stay longer, and so now we're keeping these kids closer to a year.
But on average, you have,
which still isn't long.
You can have a child who's here for a shorter period of time, just because maybe the situation of child's behaviors or situations we're not being able to help that child, and a move to another environment might be an effective thing. Right. So you never know. And so some children are here for a short time. Some recover more quickly. We find a foster family home that we can move them into real quickly. So we want to move them into those spaces as quickly as we can. So once the children stabilize, if we can put them there, then we move them, step them down into a family home. And so it just depends on how long, each child as to how long they'll be here. But like Susan said, COVID, those factors probably slowed down the movement just because of a health risk that moving children from place to place might.
I love what you said though about it being different for every child, right? So so really it's really looking at their needs and aligning that, right?
It is. And I think one of the things that affects the shortness of time that they're here is the fact that there are so many children in the state of Georgia that need help. I think the state tries to move them in, move them on, get the next one served. That sets up its own set of challenges and problems.
Yeah. Wow. So 3,000, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about that number of 3,000.
Well, I mean, think about how much we hear in the news about children being in hotels, waiting on placements. The system is overwhelmed. And I think like other states, Georgia has just struggled to have enough placements, have enough appropriate placements.
I think our equine program is very important because the kids come down here. It's not just horseback riding. It's therapy. It's an experience that they won't likely ever get again. The connections that they make, they're building healthy relationships for the first time. A lot of times they're learning how to communicate non-verbally with something that can't otherwise speak to them. And I think that in and of itself it's a way that they have to learn to build trust. And in building all of that, they're building their self-esteem. And we have work teams that come down. They're building so many professional skills. They're learning work ethic. They're learning how to use all of their these skills, but career skills that you need to build on, time management, all of that's very important for them. When the kids are out riding the horses, it's so crazy to see how some of these kids come down and they're terrified to touch a horse. They stand out here and they say, I don't want to go in, Miss Jessica, it's too, I don't like horses. They're too big. They're too scary. But then a couple weeks in, they're petting them. And then a couple weeks in, they're like, can I get on? So they're building that confidence that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Well, we've got, in the state of Georgia, we have probably around 15,000 kids in state custody.
Yeah.
Numbers have drastically increased over the years.
And the number of providers has decreased.
Right. COVID had an effect on that too.
As well.
Changes in public policy has, you got smaller agencies than us. How do we survive with changing of policies and the behavioral issues that we're seeing in children are far more challenging than they used to be. why that is, I mean, I think there's no one answer.
Yeah.
It's sort of the perfect storm of, economy, opiate, impoverishment, just digital era, a lot of things that keep people distracted from or really being attended to the needs of nurturing a child. So those issues have created more trauma. And so the kids that come to us are harder to deal with, to maintain the staff that have that commitment. I mean, it's like educators. We all know the difficulty of being, a school teacher, a grade school teacher, a high school teacher, the challenges of kids with behaviors, and all our educational centers are seeing that. But we're working with those children who have been removed, right? Who are dealing with those traumas. And so it makes it more difficult. And so those smaller agencies, during COVID, trying to deal with these challenges and the shift of public policy to address the challenges was too much. Yeah. And so we've lost a number of agencies that could be, the hands and feet, in the space to really help. Yeah. So it's a burden. We're dealing with a burden of a crisis, and we need more people to be aware of that crisis. Yes. The languishing child. We need more communities to rally around the idea, to begin to even entertain the idea in their own home. Can we foster a child? Those are spaces that we all, it does take a village, particularly when you're dealing with children who've had challenges. And at the end of the day, this isn't a problem child. It's a child. It's a child who has been in a situation, not of their own choosing, where they've been hurt. And a loving, nurturing environment, can take that challenge and watch a child change, watch a child grow. And so we're looking for those kind of people to join in with our agency and other agencies who want, to foster or to rally as volunteer groups on our campus, because our kids need to see community. They just don't come here and then they're here isolated from the rest of the world. Now we actually bring church groups. We have United Women in Faith come to our campus, and do birthday parties with our kids, play bingo with them. And so our kids begin to see loving adults.
Community.
Exactly.
Wow. And this is something I don't know if Scott is aware of or not. I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but we lost a significant number of agencies similar to ours in the early 2000s in this state, and we've never recovered from that.
So the need has gotten greater and the support has gotten smaller.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And this is not, just our agency. You go to DFACS, all the departments are, of the state are you kind of feeling the strain of that. And just an example, currently, the state is struggling with an issue of hoteling of children because of the lack of space. DFACS workers and others are having to take care of children in a hotel, have them in the DFACS office because there's nowhere for them to go. And it's the state recognizes this is not acceptable. But what do you do when you're in crisis? You're doing now what you can do, right? And so the state does not want to do that anymore. Well, we've been with our relationship with the state, having been around for 100 years doing this work. We've partnered with the state to pilot a program to help take the children out of those hotels. So we're opening group homes in Augusta, Metro Atlanta, to be able to service that population of youth. And so we're pulling them out of the hotels and pulling them into a family home setting where we're hiring the foster parent that's placed into that home, that's leased property, and providing therapists and those services to meet the needs of those children placed in that home. So we'll have up to 5 kids living in a home with the foster parents that we have recruited and trained to put there to care for the children, and then bringing and rallying church groups and other community groups to come as mentors and volunteers to surround that house, that family.
To support them and basically give them similar to what they would get here.
And this is because we're not opening up as like the number of families that want to be a foster parent. Where do you take these kids? And some of the kids that are being in the hotels, they may be a runaway. They may have some behavioral issues that need to be addressed right up front.
Right.
And so we, with the skill sets that we have, having been in this space working with mental health for so long, we're able to train those fosterers, put them in that house, bring those children out of the hotel, those spaces, to care for them.
And how long have you been doing
We
that?
are just now, I'm telling you this because this is a new program that we've just begun. The house, we're just entering 2 homes now, one in Conyers, another one in downtown Augusta. Another home is currently being built for the same program down in Augusta. And so we're currently beginning that space.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My response to the question, how can I now help build a future for children, youth, and women, is really framed by what's on my scarf as a deaconess: love, justice, and service. And who does it better but United Women in Faith? 150 plus years behind us and 150 years next. My ministry, my work, my prayers, my presence, my gifts, my service, my witness is what I can do every day because it's a daily practice. Our faith is a practice, and I love practicing my faith with United Women in Faith. It fortifies me, it inspires me, and it invites me every day into helping to build that future for children, youth, and women.
I am so pleased to be able to work on the Voices from the Field planning team. If you have not participated in a Voices from the Field event yet, you will definitely want to. They're held quarterly, and they highlight the work of our international mission institutions, our regional missionaries, and our deaconesses and home missioners. They actually connect you as the donor to that work, and you get to see the work and your donations in action, and it is so motivating. So here to tell us a little bit more about Voices from the Field, I call your attention to the screen.
Voices from the Field, where you learn about national and international work supported by the mission giving of United Women in Faith. Hear firsthand in real time from women leaders about their work, challenges, hopes, and dreams.
Because of the leadership development and economic empowerment programs being funded by United Women in Faith, they are now powerful advocates for the integrational collaboration and accountability towards a more just, sustainable, and equal world in their different regions.
I invite you to experience a little bit of Latin America, a region of the world full of diverse customs, traditions, and cultures that go back to ancient civilizations, European colonizers, African slaves, and immigrant families.
Buenos días, mis queridas hermanas. Les saludo en el amor de Jesucristo y les agradezco mucho el apoyo que me dieron para emprender el trabajo que estoy haciendo en este momento. Estoy haciendo tamales de maíz con pollo y con eso he trabajado.
Ladies, I want you to remember, we serve, we advocate, we make a difference. And the best part is building the relationships and fellowships. We are a wonderful sisterhood of grace.
I am Deaconess Caitlin Hansen, coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, United Methodist Church for All People and Community Development for All People, a proud United Methodist Women in Faith national mission institution.
I'm Ukrainian, from Ukraine, 63 years old. I stay in Kiev now. I was born, graduated school and university in Russia. I have lived in Ukraine for more than 40 years. I have been working for women's rights for more than 30 years. All these years, I tried to work for peace.
My prayer is that United Women in Faith will open many doors, more opportunities for many young women to become a leader also, and to become an advocate of justice and hope.
Our purpose is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and develop a creative, supportive fellowship that expands the concept of mission through participation in various ministries to the poor, the homeless, the marginalized, and the destitute.
Join Voices from the Field, a quarterly virtual gathering showcasing the work of United Women in Faith. Come and be inspired. Visit uwfaith.org/resources/podcast for recordings from past events and information about the one coming up next. Voices from the Field, directly to you.
So please make sure you check our website out so you know when the next Voices from the Field event is coming up and you can participate. We've had so many wonderful comments about Voices from the Field, and I'd like to read this comment from an attendee of a recent event. Voices in the Field shines a spotlight on the important work United Women in Faith is doing to help our hurting world. Meeting the missionaries and hearing about their personal commitment to God's work and how they are serving those in need is exciting and informative. I am happy to see and hear how my donation dollars are being used. Amen to that. Since the beginnings of our organization, United Women in Faith's outreach has been global, reaching far beyond our borders. Here to tell us more about the impact of our extensive international ministry work, our fellow national staff members, Betty Gittens and Tatiana Dwyer.
United Women in Faith's international work empowers women to find local solutions and make positive, sustainable change in their communities. I am Betty Gittens, staff of United Women in Faith's international programs. Over the past several years, United Women in Faith's international work has focused on leadership development, economic empowerment, and skills building. We work in partnership with women in the central conferences of the United Methodist Church to build women leaders and empower women with both economic opportunities and skills. We help women learn how to identify their own needs and address priorities in their communities. Then women train other women. Women know the challenges their communities face, and they always come with creative solutions.
I'm Tatiana Dwyer, staff of United Women in Faith International Programs. We established local coordination teams called the country teams in countries in which we work. These country teams include local United Methodist women, the conference representative for women's work, young women representatives, and are led by the United Women in Faith regional missionaries. Local ownership is very important. 6 regional missionaries serve in different areas of the world, working with local women on leadership development, economic empowerment, skills building, and gender justice.
In its ongoing efforts to empower women of the United Methodist Church in Sierra Leone, the United Women in Faith, through its country team, have provided funds as seed monies to support various economic innovative projects undertaken by women, such as rearing of animals on farmlands in Kailahun, Makeni, Kono, Moyamba, and Mokanji. Women are also encouraged in farm rice and groundnut cultivation in Jehun, Kenema District, and Mile 91 in Tonkolili District. The interest-free loans were provided to beneficiaries through a revolving loan scheme designed to benefit a huge number of UMC women in the aforementioned districts or communities. These women were provided with seed monies that could be used as capital for the setting up of small-scale businesses of buying and selling of various products such as charcoal, palm oil, vegetables, etc. Amidst all of these, the United Women in Faith Sierra Leone country team continue to provide training, mentorship, and monitoring support to beneficiaries to ensure that the resources at their disposal are better utilized. With various investment plans now in operation, the members of the Sierra Leone country team always conduct quarterly monitoring to track success stories and challenges encountered by each beneficiary.
When women thrive, entire communities thrive. Your giving goes a long way for women around the world. It combats poverty, builds the capacities of local women, and allows women and their families to have better lives.
Your giving makes these three goals possible: leadership development, economic development, and skills building.
Our leadership development initiative supports women's leadership in the church, community, and the world. We provide training that builds women's capacities for change. We use a community-based approach to identify the strengths and needs of local women.
The country teams are trained using the methodology of the Training for Transformation program. The country teams gain skills and tools that allow them to train other women in their communities. Currently, United Women in Faith supports country teams in Sierra Leone, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Liberia, the Philippines, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Let's travel around the world and meet some of the women whose lives your giving has touched.
I bring you greetings from the United Methodist Women Sierra Leone country team. My name is Kizaya Kagbo. I'm a very proud beneficiary of the programs of the United Methodist Women in Africa. They actually gave me the strength, they gave me the capability towards a successful career path through their many leadership development programs, through their mentorship, and above all, through their educational support programs. I've been able to realize the potential that I have in me. So I'm very, very happy and grateful to United Methodist Women, and I'm happy today I'm in a position to give back to society and to help mentor so many young women.
Empowerment is here and now. Your giving provides seed funding for women to create small-scale businesses in fisheries, farming, vegetable gardening, soap making, sewing, chicken rearing, and piggeries. Our small economic development grants increase women's ability for self-sufficiency and decision-making, support their families to move and stay out of poverty.
I want to first of all thank the United Women in Faith for empowering our women in Sierra Leone economically. The women in Sierra Leone have done a marvelous job. They have been very, very much committed to the project, and we are seeing the outcome. For instance, the bakery in Bo is a success story. They built it on their own, and they use their own local funds to help augment the money that we gave them. And today, we are very, very proud of them. Now they have one of the best bakeries in the community, and I'm sure that is going to help them to get income so that they can be able to pay school fees, they can be able to pay and give help to other women in the society.
Paulina Jetumbaya from Zimbabwe was at the end of her rope, struggling to put food on the table and praying that her 4 children would remain healthy. That's when she received 15 chicks from United Women in Faith. The chicks are multiplying and she's selling them for income. What more do you want in life except to be self-reliant, Paulina says. And she expresses gratitude to her church and United Women in Faith for making that happen.
In Ecuador, United Women in Faith, in partnership with the Methodist Church of Ecuador, supported 126 women with small grants of $40 each for income-generating activities. The women added the money to their own resources, and some were able to buy animals and seeds, while others used it to prepare food, to sell.
Mis queridas hermanas, te saludo en el amor de Jesucristo y les agradezco mucho el apoyo que me dieron para emprender el trabajo que estoy haciendo en este momento. Estoy haciendo tamales de maíz con pollo y con eso he trabajado.
In Kitang village in the Democratic Republic of Congo, we're able to purchase a grinding mill. The mill is used to grind rice, a major food staple, into flour. Before, women had to travel great distances to use the mill in a neighboring village. Now the mill has become a source of income for the local women and reduces the time they have to travel to grind rice, making their lives a little easier. Mozambique is a very beautiful country, and it is very poor, but the women are not waiting for the government to save them. They're starting businesses and going to school. A fish farm in Mozambique opened new possibilities. It provides food and nutrition, earns income, and creates jobs.
I'm very glad. I'm very thankful. From the Balay Balay women to the United Women in Faith, thank you for the leadership capacity building training.
A little giving goes a long way. Grateful for your giving, so many women have turned a small gift into a big positive change.
Animal husbandry focuses on projects that are centered on the rearing of pigs. Stella Bokri is the district leader in Kono who has benefited from the United Women in Faith Economic Development Fund. She and other women from different circuits in Kono district have invested in the business of rearing domestic pigs. In spite of the challenges they faced at the initial stage of the process, Stella and other piggery owners in Kono, Makeni, Rotefunk, and Kangama are optimistic of the future. This video features the stories of women whose businesses have received a massive boost as a result of the United Women in Faith Economic Development Grant. The dignity of these women is now restored.
So kopo jimi alo nyande ngejisi atuwa ikengumunga kama nanganga uti magumali vimfuku mande ngasia kahengo mata so ena viro.
Kadiatu Dumbuya, who is a retired teacher in Maboka, is diabetic, but her health challenges have not impeded her active involvement in small businesses.
Women are resourceful. With resources and skills, women improve lives not only of their families, they also find solutions for their communities. All these small businesses put food on the table, send children to school, increase income, and greatly improve lives.
Yes, United Women in Faith has always had and will continue to have a commitment to work towards the women's goals of sustainability.
The partnership with women starts with trust. We offer various opportunities for building leadership and marketable life skills. Once learned, skills can never be taken away.
These programs have been vital for women. Vocations such as sewing help women make a living and earn more income. Empowering women with new skills, that's key to leadership development. In Sierra Leone, women are pursuing vocational training, Fatima is using income from her newly learned cosmetology skills to work at weddings, dinners, to support her university education. As we train women for transformation, so many lives have become transformed. This international work of United Women in Faith is making all the difference. The work would not be possible without the support of local United Women in Faith members.
We also work on policy making, advocating for peace and social justice. Women's leadership in peace building has been critical. In 2015, United Women in Faith co-founded the Women's Peace Dialogue Platform, a unique regional network that unites women's organizations working on peace and gender in Eastern Europe. The platform provides space for women to come together and discuss the implications of war and need for women's leadership in peace building. Women's leadership in peace is even more critical for the region after the Russian Federation's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.
I have lived in Ukraine for more than 40 years. I have been working for women's rights for more than 30 years. All these years, I tried to work for peace.
You can learn about the work of the platform and how its members help each other in times of real war through our Special Voices from Ukraine online series.
It is important to bring the authentic voices of local women in mission around the world to our members. We created Voices from the Field, an online program that features women's leaders sharing stories from their work and lives.
A little bit of giving creates so much empowerment in the world, in the countries in which you may not travel, but your giving makes huge difference.
Proceeds from Day of Giving support the Legacy Endowment Fund, which is a permanently invested endowment that supports the work of improving the lives of women, children, and youth at home and abroad. Gifts to the Legacy Endowment Fund build a financial resource that ensures United Women in Faith can carry out its vital programs and activities for many years to come.
United Women in Faith, it is your day of giving. It is your opportunity to see that the future is now. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you to give generously on this amazing Day of Giving 2023. So there are multiple ways that you can give, and you can give in whatever way is easiest for you. You can give online at your computer or on your cell phone at uwfaith.org/day of giving. You can make a phone call and speak to a live human being at 1-800-278-7771. And this year we have the phone lines open until 6 p.m. Eastern time so that we can capture all of the time zones that want to give to the Day of Giving, to the future being now. We do carry phones in our pockets, and our phones do more than just call one another. You can text to give at 20503 and type in give, and it will take you straight to a donation page for this amazing Day of Giving. And of course, you can always give by check. It's safe, it's easy, and it brings a little light to those who open the mail at 475 Riverside Drive. So mail your checks to United Women in Faith, Attention Legacy, 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 1500, that's 1500, New York, New York, 10115, and write in the memo, Day of Giving. I give because I know that the future is now, that women, children, and youth need support and programs to grow and develop into the leaders that they have the potential to become. The future is now, and it's time to give. Thank you.
What can I do now to build a better future for women, children, and youth? I'll tell you. I can continue to contribute to the United Women in Faith's Legacy Fund. My dollars ensure that we continue supporting the critical advocacy efforts of racial and climate justice, which overwhelmingly affects women, children, and youth. Also, my funds can be used to sustain, engage, and empower, ensuring that United Women in Faith's vital voice remains relevant and strong for generations to come. So won't you join me in making an impact and continue the legacy and support the work of 150 plus years of faith in action by visiting uwfaith.org and make a generous donation. Thank you.
The word of God for the people of God, from Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
The United Methodist Order of Deaconess and Home Missioner is administered by United Women in Faith. Deaconesses and home missioners are lay people consecrated to a lifetime of service under the authority of the church to full-time vocations of love, justice, and service. We are blessed to have the opportunity to hear from some deaconesses and home missioners and their inspiring work in the following video.
I am a deaconess. I had a stroke and brain surgery about 16 years ago. And during that time of exploring God in new ways and meeting God in new ways, I felt this nudge to learn more about that. And now I meet with all types of people who are seeking and searching for God in their life in various ways. And we do that primarily using the body that God gave us. One of my favorite groups of women that I get to work with in the studio are survivors of sex trafficking. This private class is an opportunity for these women to come and just connect with their bodies again. And it's a trauma-informed opportunity. I've been trained in trauma-sensitive yoga. As deaconesses and home missioners, we are committed to ministries of love, justice, and service.
I am a home missioner. Part of my ministry is to ensure that our schools basically empower, equip, accept, and honor and love everybody who walks in every school we have in our district with dignity and respect. That's a part of love, justice, and service. As a home missioner and, as an equity, diversity, inclusion program specialist, I really have to create a more oversized table with a mic for everybody. The Deaconess Home Missioner Order equips me to be bolder and to see everyone I'm serving. The foundation it provides, the support of the community, and knowing that God is at work in all places granted me the courage to speak out and act whenever necessary. Action is vital as a deaconess and home missioner.
I am a deaconess. My ministry focuses on health living and education for girls through the foundation that I started in 2019. It's called WEMA Health Foundation. There had never been a deaconess or home missioner from Africa region. So as deaconess, I feel like I'm a bridge between the church and the community. And so I work on social issues in the community, but in relationship, in partnership with the church. I take the gospel beyond the pulpit, beyond the pew, beyond our church doors to the community and make it a living gospel.
I am a home missioner. I teach critical thinking and writing, and we work with students who are immigrants, first generation, or who are facing a variety of challenges becoming college students. Working here and working in my church, we're looking at ways to make Park Avenue Church a place where everyone is welcome. And so part of that means looking at worship, looking at music, looking at interactions, perhaps training people to do some things better, to have some sensitivities they haven't had in the past, to heighten some sensitivities. to maybe be uncomfortable for a little bit. But on the road to doing this, we'll all become a better church and a church of radical belonging. I believe that truly fits into the call of Deaconess Home Missioner of love, justice, and service.
In 2022, the Office of Deaconess and Home Missioner celebrated continued growth and success.
In 2022, we held 6 virtual discernment events and welcomed 40 new Deaconess Home Missioner candidates.
In 2022, we celebrated the consecration of 60 new deaconesses and home missioners at Assembly in Orlando, Florida, for the largest consecration in our United Methodist history. This included deaconesses and home missioners who were welcomed virtually in 2020 and 21.
In 2022, we held our first ever hybrid courses, including one that took place simultaneously in Nairobi, Kenya, and Asheville, North Carolina. We are grateful for our technology and creative professors who worked together to organize an amazing experience for our deaconesses and home missioner candidates.
In 2022, we resumed in-person classes for our candidates for the first time since 2020. And with our new hybrid option, we created a pathway that allows candidates unable to travel to join the classes remotely using Zoom.
In 2022, the Office of Deaconess and Home Missioners held our first ever Racial Justice Summit, a professional development opportunity for all deaconesses and home missioners and candidates to continue our commitment to anti-racism and intercultural competence.
In 2023, we anticipate welcoming 16 new deaconess home missioners and 2 transferring their relationship from the Philippines.
We are excited to share that plans are underway for a consecration service to be held in New York City this coming April as a part of the United Women in Faith Board of Directors meeting.
The Office of Deaconess and Home Missioner is administered by the United Methodist Women, now doing business as United Women in Faith. You'll find DHM serving as United Women in Faith staff, board members, PAG members, officers, Mission U leaders, and so much more.
You'll also hear from Deaconess Home Missioners as contributors to the Daily Prayer Guide, Faith Talks, Voice from the Field, and Response magazine.
You'll find Deaconess Home Missioners serving in diverse ministry contexts throughout the United States and beyond. Some examples of our ministry contexts include healthcare, community organizing, education, climate justice, social work, nonprofit directors, housing and anti-hunger ministries, and more.
If you know someone who is discerning a call, invite them to our upcoming discernment event taking place on Saturday, April 1st at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, visit us on the United Women in Faith website or send an email to deaconess@uwfaith.org.
My name is Deaconess Celeste Eubanks. I currently live in Montgomery, Alabama, and am a part of the Alabama West Florida Annual Conference. I was consecrated in May of 2018, and I currently fulfill my call as a deaconess, serving as the Director of Connectional Ministries for the Alabama West Florida Conference. I think I am faced with that every day in the role that I serve in, being on conference staff for a conference in the United Methodist Church in a position most often held by a clergy person. I have always am presented with the opportunity to share that I am a layperson who answered a call to ministry by way of the Order of Deaconess and Home Missioner. And so I feel like that makes my context unique because there has to be clarity in what I am. So many times I get emails where I'm reverend or people just assume that I'm clergy. And so it always creates a great opportunity to educate people on this order and how laypersons can answer a call to ministry, much like ordained elders and ordained deacons answer calls to full-time vocation in that form of ministry, an ordained way. The Order of Deaconess Home Missioner is really the only way that a layperson can officially answer a call to ministry in the United Methodist Church. We are consecrated into our role and then commissioned, of course, from our annual conference to whatever appointment it is that we will serve in. But the Order of Deaconess Home Missioner creates that way and that avenue for people to make a very public declaration of a call to ministry as a layperson. And so it just really creates the space for people to live into that. Different people have different reasons as to why they may or may not go into ordained ministry, but still nonetheless, this order, which with just recently, really within the last 5 years or so, became an official order. But this order allows those individuals, myself included, to answer calls, to full-time vocation in ministry as a layperson. So I am able to live into the mandates of specifically love, justice, and service in my role as a director of connectional ministry, just because essentially you're overseeing all mission and ministry within your, annual conference. So I have the beauty of being able to, when it comes to living into the justice piece, like being the conference resource for our Coalition on Disrupting and Dismantling Racism. With love, I mean, we're showing that all the time, right? Especially when it comes to disaster response, but also when it comes to clergy care and things of that nature, with me being able to sometimes work alongside our Director of Ministerial Services with that. And then the serving piece, we're doing that every day, right? And so for me, I often remind myself that is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's all about love, justice, and service, and how I get the distinct pleasure and opportunity to do that in my role really every day with the various ministries I work with. It's one of the most diverse communities that you'll find in the United Methodist Church system. And it's not just the racial diversity. I mean, it's diversity on so many levels, right? Diversity in career, diversity in theological belief, diversity in gender. Diversity, again, socioeconomic, political, in so many different ways. But at the end of the day, we all really view each other as brothers and sisters. And so it's just a great community. I love being out among the connection, even when I go outside of my Alabama West Florida Conference and even the Southeast jurisdiction, to be able to be in spaces with other deaconesses and home missioners. Even most recently at the Southeast Jurisdictional Conference, home missioner Steve Taylor is also a DCM, as they regard directors of connectional ministry. So it was great for he and I to be in spaces together as the DCMs for the jurisdiction gathered. And really just being there, with other deaconesses and home missioners who are in the jurisdiction. So it's always an instant automatic community wherever you go, because we're everywhere and our community is continuing to grow. And so that's just kind of the great thing about it. And I just love educating people about it, both inside and outside of the United Methodist Church, because deaconesses have different meanings in different denominations. And so that's been a kind of a beauty of the community as well, using it as an educational tool. There's a number of deaconesses who are already in professions that allow them to live into, this call. But for me, I was working in human resources for a software company, and I tried to make it work. I was like, are y'all sure I can't answer my call remaining in this role? But it literally was not a moment too soon. I'd submitted my application to be consecrated at the General Conference. or not General Conference, at United Methodist Women's Assembly in 2018. And the day that it was the absolute deadline, for making the cut was when I received my offer letter from Bishop David Graves extending an offer to me to join conference staff. And so I could have never imagined how that would have played out, and for him to make the first contact with me at my final, it was while I was at Brooks Howell taking my final course in the course of study, when Bishop Graves called and, mentioned this opportunity that there was. And so from that very moment, I knew the confirmation again that I was doing exactly what God wanted me to do. And from that moment on, I've never doubted that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And so that is such a calm and a relaxing and great place to be in, especially, in this time. So just know, if you are one of those individuals who knows will have to make a drastic career change, just have a calm peace and reassurance in knowing that God truly, really does know the plans that God has for us. And it's just a matter of us just saying yes and living into that.
United Women in Faith's newest giving society is Friends of Legacy. Donors who make major gifts of $5,000 or more to the Legacy Endowment Fund have the option of paying a one-time gift or making a pledge to pay over a multi-year period. Pledges, to be paid over 3 to 5 years, make major gifts possible. We hope you will consider becoming a Friend of Legacy today.
Hi, friends. My name is Cecilia Malm, Director of Development with United Women in Faith, and I am so delighted today to share with you a video from my recent visit to the neighborhood house in Wilmington, Delaware, a nearly 100-year-old national mission institution of United Women in Faith. I had a fantastic time getting a tour from Executive Director Allison Wendell and meeting her dedicated staff and volunteers. There was so much to learn and see. I hope you enjoy the video. I'm talking to Allison Wendell, Executive Director of the Neighborhood House in Wilmington, Delaware. So just tell me a little bit, if you would, Allison, about the history of the Neighborhood House.
So if you read the documents that we found in our archives, right around the turn of the century, 1906, 2 women that were then Episcopal Methodist came to Wilmington and looked for a place to settle a deaconess home. I guess soon after that it became Methodist of some sort. It's changed over the years. However, those 2 ladies wound up settling here in Southbridge. They rented the basement of an old church and started the first neighborhood house. Soon after that, they were able to get $1,000 and purchase a row home next door to the old church, and they set up a deaconess house there. And that was right around 1917 from what I can find. So the neighborhood house that started serving children started right around 1920 and then became an actual mission in 1927. So we're close to 100 years of officially being a national institute of United Methodist Women or Women of Faith. And we've moved a couple times in this area. We settled here in this building in 1996. So this particular building is 30 years old, and this site was the site of a church, a Methodist church, that was leveled so that they could build this building. And this building was built mortgage-free, and we are blessed to have never had a mortgage here, and so that we can really focus on programming and not money. And so we really focus on programming for the community, and our walls have come down, so we're serving all of Newcastle County now, not just South Wilmington. And you'll see that when we talk about the programs and tour the building.
That's fantastic. Over 100 years. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. And how many children and youth do you serve here in this building?
So on a year's basis, and this would be unduplicated numbers. So there's two there's two thoughts on that. So you've got duplicated numbers, how many people walk through the door in a given year. Then you have how many people that we actually serve that we didn't duplicate. So when it comes to youth, it's about 1,800. So we're close to 2,000 kids that are in our program or come through one of our programs. And our programs start with the Early Learning Center. So that's babies. They come in at 6 weeks. And that particular program is funded by Women of Faith. And we'll take a walk through there and I'll show you what that looks like. There's several funding streams that help fund it. It is a New Directions Head Start program. So it's considered 5-star in the state of Delaware, and that's the highest rating a daycare can receive in the state of Delaware. Numerous awards for this program, so it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was my other question was how have grants from United Women in Faith really helped the work here?
So the grants from, it's been part of the fabric of Neighborhood House forever, the United Women in Faith, and that funding stream to fund the Early Learning Center. So through the years, it was once our program solely. Then we became a teaching site for the University of Delaware. So to explain that simply, the University of Delaware would teach their early learning students here at Neighborhood House, and the curriculum was developed here. The students would go on to work in other areas, but they learned all about the early learning years here at Neighborhood House. So that changed in the last 6 years, and we took that program over again. And we still have a very close tie with the University of Delaware, but it has become more of Neighborhood House's program instead of their program. So it gives us a little more oversight into the curriculum and just the way the program is run.
The Early Learning Center operates actually 4 classrooms. Currently, we're only operating 3 classrooms, and that was a result of COVID. We lost some staff and some children, so we kind of went down to 3 classrooms. After 2 years of the COVID challenges, I'm happy to say we are fully staffed, and the 3 classrooms we are fully operational in them, and hopefully opening the 4th one. We'll see how things go.
Awesome.
We have infants and toddlers here because we're in partnership with Early Head Start out of University of Delaware. In 2019, sometime in July, the Neighborhood House took ownership of the Child Care Center. Prior to that, University of Delaware was the owner, and basically they partnered with Neighborhood House, but more so using this space as their urban setting for childcare. So we had students doing their practicums here and student teaching experiences and things like that. They ended that partnership, but the Early Head Start part of the university decided to stay, and we're very grateful for that. So they are, all our children here are enrolled under Early Head Start, and as a result of that, our teacher to children ratios are very low. We get a lot of support from the staff at Early Head Start. The families partner with a family service specialist because Early Head Start is about the whole family. And so they partner with the parents and have shared goals about family things, and then we do the core part of the day for childcare.
Awesome.
Yep. So we utilize a research-based model of care. It's called the looping concept, and basically means the children come to the classroom as infants, stay in the same environment with the same teachers until they age out. So in a traditional childcare, you have children moving from one class to the next as they hit that birthday. But with us, they stay in that same environment. So it's an excellent model because you have continuity of care. Those relationships are built between teachers and children, but also between the teachers and the families. and those relationships get stronger as the children get older.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
so great that
Yep.
they have the same teacher. They can really
Absolutely.
bond.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Love
There's
it.
a lot of
Yeah.
bonding there.
Yeah. There are 5 pillars of services here. Can you just
Yeah.
summarize them again for
Sure.
me?
So the first, what we call pillars, is the Early Learning Center. So that's for children ages 6 months to 3 3/4, so almost to 4. And then the new preschool will be starting March 1st, and that is for children that are 4 and 5. And then when they become school age, the next pillar is the youth development program here. And that is a program that services kids that are school age all the way up to high school. And after that program, we have something called Family Services, and that's a wraparound service for our families that provides a food pantry, it provides utility help, it's eviction prevention, it's diapers, it's formula, it's women's hygiene products, it's anything you can think of that a family in crisis may need to survive, to get out of that crisis. So the next pillar is comprehensive housing counseling, and that is, in that program we do everything from first-time homebuyers programs all the way to foreclosure and default litigation, and we go as so far as to accompany our clients to court to try to stop foreclosure. In the last quarter, we saved 4 homes from going into default, caught the mortgages up, renegotiated the mortgages, and the families were able to stay in their home. And that's the ultimate goal. So the ultimate goal is to keep families in a sustainable mortgage, or to put folks into their first time, being a first-time home buyer. So in that comprehensive housing counseling, we teach everything from how to access credit, how to repair credit, how to build a sustainable budget in the household, and how to maintain it. So our counselors are HUD certified, and again, we're faith-based, so there's that aspect is woven into everything that we do. And the last pillar that we operate here is called the Neighborhood Empowerment Center, and it's workforce development programs, and it is a whole, just, there's a lot that takes place in different periods of the year. For instance, next month we're running a program for seniors to teach seniors how to do an insurance audit in their household. Are they overinsured, underinsured? Are they getting scammed? How to know that whatever insurances that they have in place are actually something that they need. We also teach seniors how to access their credit, how to make sure that there are not things going on in their credit life that shouldn't be. We watch for scams and just really try to teach them how to watch out for themselves. Today, you get scammed everywhere. So we try to work with our seniors in that aspect. Another thing that we do in the Empowerment Center is Neighborhood House is a Microsoft Office Certiport. So we teach the Office suite here. So you can come in and learn the entire Microsoft Office suite and Excel, take the test online and get a certification, which is what we call an upskill. You can upskill, and it helps you increase your income. So we do all kinds of things with the Empowerment Center. Fantastic. So that's here, Neighborhood House. It's just amazing what we do for the folks that come in our door, but what happens in our community room, which is where we're sitting now, is a neighborhood and a community partnership. So here in this room, we do everything from the local civic association meets here. We do environmental justice programming here. We partner with the city and with the community to run just any kind of program to enlighten the community that we can find out there. I mean, it's just amazing what happens in this room.
Sounds like everything from the little ones to our blessed older folks. You're meeting their needs. It's so wonderful.
And again, this is the main Neighborhood House, but we also have Neighborhood House number 2, and it's located in a town called Middletown, Delaware. which is in southern Newcastle County. And that program, we're getting ready to expand our footprint to mimic what we have here, but we will adapt to the culture of Middletown and change our programming a little bit. And it'll be the same pillars that we have here, but just in a different location. So we're excited about that expansion.
First of all, I'd say volunteer in one of the national mission institutions. I was blessed to work in one for over 20 years, and it changes your life and changes the lives of many other people. Then I would say give to United Women in Faith, because we have the experience and we have been able to help people around the world through our regional missionaries, our Bible women, our deaconesses, and US2s and various other mission personnel. But we too, as United Methodist and United Women in Faith, are able to do many, many things to help our local or our state national mission institutions. So I would say give generously from your heart and from your soul. Thank you.
Hi, Shannon. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you, Cecilia?
Good. Happy Day of Giving. Our most
Happy Day of Giving. What a great day it is. It looks beautiful outside. It's beautiful inside. Phones are ringing off the hook. We love it.
Terrific. We're having such a good time. And you and I are here with the wonderful task of explaining to people some of the ways that they can give, with the wonderful explanation, shall we say, of how to give.
Well, and it is so easy to give. And it's easy to give in any form that makes you comfortable, whether it's online or by phone. And that is online at uwfaith.org/day of giving. Or if you want to call and talk to a human being, we've got phone lines open. And you can just call 1-800-278-7771. And the phone lines are open today an extra hour till 6 p.m. Eastern time. So we definitely cover the West Coast and Alaska and Hawaii to make sure that they're comfortable calling in.
We also have another exciting way to give this year. If you get out your phone, and I know you all have a phone somewhere nearby, we all do these days, we're making it really easy for you to give through a text giving platform. And all you have to do is text the word give, G-I-V-E, to the number 20503. So why don't you all try it now? It's so easy to do. And of course, we also have the old-fashioned way to give, to send in a check to the organization. You can send it to United Women in Faith, Attention Legacy, 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 1500, that's 1500, New York, New York, 10115. And please write Day of Giving in the memo section so we can credit your gift to the Day of Giving.
So Cecilia, why do you give?
I give because it's part of my faith to see my resources as God-given and to be shared with others. And I give to United Women in Faith because it's an organization that is out there doing such amazing things in the world for women, children, and youth. I really couldn't think of a better way to express my desire to see young people, especially young girls and women, grow up and fulfill their dreams.
Well, I know you're not alone in those feelings and that sentiment. So I'm going to ask that all of you out there who are watching or listening, please give today if you can. Give today and every day if you can. We are building the legacy of United Women in Faith, and the future is now.
Terrific. And how about you, Shannon? Would you like to share why you give?
Sure. I give because I know that life on earth is not indefinite. And I want to make sure that the future is something I can participate in when it happens in 150 years, that I will leave my legacy by the gift I give today.
You're watching United Women in Faith Day of Giving 2023. Stay tuned for more highlights of the vital programming that your generous donations help make possible.
I am pleased to introduce Gail Douglas Boykin, past national board member and deaconess, who will share a spirit-filled message on this Day of Giving 2023.
Today, I want to talk about why it's essential to support United Women in Faith and how doing so is an investment in our future. The world is changing at an unprecedented pace, and the future is now. The choices we make today will shape the world we live in tomorrow. And supporting organizations that align with our values is one of the most effective ways to create a positive impact. First and foremost, supporting organizations is a way to make a tangible difference in the world. Whether it's a local nonprofit, a national charity, or an international organization, each has a unique role in making the world a better place. By giving our time, our money, our resources to these organizations, we're supporting their vital work and helping them to achieve their goals. Giving is an act that transcends cultural, religious, and social boundaries. It is a fundamental aspect of human nature, and its benefits are numerous. Giving allows us to express our gratitude, generosity, and compassion. It brings joy and satisfaction to the giver and receiver, and it fosters a sense of community and interconnectedness. At its core, giving is a spiritual act. It is an expression of our deepest values and beliefs. Whether we give to a religious organization, a charity, or an individual in need, we are putting our faith into action. We are demonstrating our commitment to the greater good and our belief in the interconnectedness of all. When we give, we also receive. Giving opens our hearts and minds to new experiences and perspectives. It helps us to cultivate a sense of gratitude and humility. It teaches us to let go of our attachment to material possessions and to focus on what truly matters in life. Through giving, we become more aware of the needs and struggles of others, and we are inspired to take action to make the world a better place. Secondly, supporting United Women in Faith is a way to create a better future for ourselves and future generations. By investing in causes such as climate change, education, and social justice, we're creating a world that is more sustainable, equitable, and just. This not only benefits those who come after us, but it also improves our quality of life in the present. Thirdly, supporting United Women in Faith is a way to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. It allows us to connect with like-minded individuals and to join forces with others who share our vision for a brighter world. Those together, we can make a greater impact than we could ever achieve alone. Finally, supporting this organization is a way to align our actions with our values. We all have a set of values that guide our decisions and shape our worldview. By supporting this organization, we're aligning with those values. We're living in alignment with our authentic selves and creating a more meaningful and fulfilling life. In conclusion, the future is now, and supporting United Women in Faith is a way to invest in the world we want to live in. By doing so, we're making a tangible difference, creating a better future for ourselves and future generations. connecting with like-minded individuals, and living in alignment with our values. I encourage you to explore the causes that resonate with you and to give generously to support their vital work. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7 tells us that each of you must give as you have made up your mind, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver.
Thank you so much, Gail, for those inspiring words. You know, recently I had the blessing of interviewing our newest regional missionary, and I am so pleased that I can play that recording for you now. It is a blessing to have with me today United Women in Faith's newest regional missionary, and I am going to let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her background. Welcome, Frida.
Thank you very much, Christy. I'm Frida Muebe Mofia. I'm from Democratic Republic of Congo, and I'm working here in Democratic Republic of Congo as a missionary. And I'm a mother of one child. My daughter is 9 years old, a widow. I just arrived not long ago in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Lubumbashi, where I am based, to work with United Women in Faith. A year before, I was working in Kenya, where I have spent almost 10 years. But my last year before coming here, I have really devoted my time working with my local church there, supporting women, the mothers and caregivers of children who have been suffering with autism, with one of our sister who has funded a center to support them. So myself and one of our pastor and his wife have been going weekly to support women with the work of God, word of God, and we have been praying with them and also supporting them in really their emotions. They have been going through a lot, and they really needed to be supported. That work actually was kind of God preparing me even in what we'll be doing here. I have learned that being present just there with for people and with people makes a great difference than supporting them from far. I was at the same time also supporting the work of a missionary from United States who has been working with young girls who are mothers, young mothers who were who got pregnant, and others with little babies. They have been living in a slum, and they were actually impacted by COVID-19. So I have been supporting them with the word of God, proclaiming to them Christ and the love of Jesus Christ, as there were many rejected by the families, and also supporting them to know how to care for children and protect them. Before that, I also worked a lot with, for 21 years, I worked with World Vision International, and I have been working with women and families, being focused, child-focused organization. My work was to enhance and promote the protection of children in during disaster response and also in development. So in short, this is what I have been working with, and within the church, I have been really supporting young and working with them in leadership, mostly the young youth, I can say. So, and also at the Sunday school, so working with children as well. So God has been preparing me before for this work that I have been called for in Congo, where I am right now.
What type of work will you be doing exactly with the women of the Congo? I know you're just getting started and it's exciting. What type of work do you have planned?
First of all, the plan is to have to lead a team of United Methodist local association, working with them and through their structures, the established structures already, to be able to identify the needs and priorities, to support them to identify the need and priorities in their leadership development, in individual skills development, empowering the empowerment in economy, and also involving young as well, not only women but young adults, because they were in with the United Women in Faith vision. We believe we need to have continuity, and there is no way we can have continuity if we only focus on working with women. So it is more about empowering women to have to be to get to the decision making and be able to identify also things that can be hindering them to access decision making and the leadership position, so that they can be able to advocate for themselves, and also to see how can they be already ready, prepared to get to the leadership position, to have decision making, not only at the very local level, like maybe for themselves, which is also good because some needs to start in families, for example, in the local communities, small communities. But we believe if we really invest in this, we will have even an influence up to the nation, at the national level, even international level, because the leaders can actually be able to influence policy change, which will make them actually have a voice. So being here is mostly listening to the voice of women themselves, and work together with them to articulate the priority that will make them to be really the leaders that God is has intended them to be, and make themselves transformations and change where they are.
Well, such important work. I have to ask you, what is it like to be our newest regional missionary, and why did you choose this ministry in particular?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, the church, let me start first by saying it is being aware of what it is to be present. Because when there is power in being present, and people here, the church, women, young adult children, they look to me as a help, a support, as a guidance for them. However, working with United Women in Faith is to be aware that, I am in a mission, and a mission has a starting and an end. Therefore, it is going through our vision, the vision of United Women in Faith, articulated here when we are at just at the local level, which actually is being there, but to empower, to facilitate the empowerment, not only looking at the needs and the priority, but support actually women to discover that yet they are looking at me as the guide and help and support. There are still a lot of strength within them and around them. There is still also opportunities and potential that God has put in them that when they discover can really champion and make them move with their plan and their dream to become leaders and to have self-reliance. This is really something very important because it is actually why we are working through the established structures because of the sustainability even after. So it is my passion, as you can see, even from my background, that I am here to actually be able to do what God has called me to do as a missionary. And United Women in Faith has given me this opportunity. So I have chosen to work with them because through this work, I can be what God intends me to be, serving others. And also, there is a uniqueness with the United Women in Faith. They being here as a regional missionary, it is giving me actually an opportunity to actually act, having action of love. So it is a love in action, being here. And I can't just wait to see what God is going to do just because we are here to show his actions of love by being together with women here and young adults. So for me, that's why I have chosen to work with the United Women in Faith.
What can I do now to build a better future for women, children, and youth? I can listen. I need to be sitting with the people, understanding what their issues and concerns are. I need to understand how to be an advocate for them because many times they don't have the self-confidence or the opportunity to be advocates for themselves. I can model good climate practices in living every day and modeling those ways that we can make a difference. We can save this planet. And finally, I can vote. So many people don't have voice or vote, and my voice can be heard to lift up and address the issues that are important to women, children, and youth.
We're so excited today to give special thanks to our first ever corporate sponsor for Day of Giving, Westpath. Thank you, Westpath. Did you know that your gifts today on Day of Giving will be matched dollar for dollar by a generous donor who has agreed to match our Day of Giving gifts up to $100,000. So give early and your gift will be doubled.
Recently, I was able to go back and visit a place that I had not been to for several years, and that is Delalam Community Services. I started my career there more than 30 years ago in social services. I was serving on the board because I was serving as district president of United Methodist Women at the time. That put me on the board, and then I was offered a position from there. And that has led to my career in social services. That's the way God works. So you can imagine how excited I was when I went back to visit, meet the new staff there, and see how the work has truly flourished over the last 30 plus years. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. I am so excited because in just a few minutes, I'm going to take you in for a tour of where I started my social service career, Delaland Community Services in Kansas City, Missouri. It is one of our national mission institutions. We actually own the property that Delaland is on and have for more than 100 years. And so our executive director, Ryan, of this organization is going to tell you more about it and take you on a tour. And I'm thrilled to be able to show you because your donations make this happen. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with the executive director for Delaland, Ryan Hudnall. And you've been here, what now, 2 years? Is that correct?
Since August 2019.
2019. Oh, great. And so you were telling me about some of the wonderful work here, but one of my favorite things is the history and how Della started everything. Can you kind of tell us about that?
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Whenever people encounter Delaland, they said, what is a Delaland? The question is, who is Delaland? And so there's a courageous group of United Methodist women in 1897. They sought to understand their city, and they were moved by the plight facing Italian working mothers. These women wanted to work, but childcare was a challenge. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? These are the same challenges that so many in our city continue to face today. And in an incredible heart of innovation, they decided to respond. So in 1897, a group of Methodist women came together to form a co-op, an organization, a collaboration that would respond to the needs of these Italian working mothers. And that budded into one of Kansas City's first daycare centers, one of Kansas City's first gymnasiums, and from that, social services have expanded. It was in the early 1900s that a young, ambitious teenager named Della Lamb joined the team and who would be quickly named the first president of the board. And so Della Lamb is our namesake. It honors the courageousness of Della Lamb and so many others who have stepped forth to understand our city and to respond to our city's challenges.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that history. And I know that the United Women in Faith is still closely associated with you and the United Methodist Church.
Yes.
Can you tell me that they serve on your board? Is that correct?
That's correct. We have a number of active board members from United Methodist Women, United Women in Faith. And really the strength of our community has allowed us to persevere as we've overcome so many different obstacles over time. Having been founded in 1897, during the pandemic, I looked to Della Lamb and pondered her strength as she overcame so many challenges. She was our board president before the 19th Amendment was passed. During World War I, Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, all the challenges that the 1910s and the 1920s offered, Della Lamb stood. The Spanish flu pandemic in 1919, and here we are a century later, pondering the own uncertainty that we all faced with COVID-19. And so because of the strength of our community, because of so many have stepped forth over time, this was an organization that I knew endured and overcame. And so that's really the spirit as we've thought about our past 125 years and look to the next 125 years. It is a fundamental belief that we as a community can transform our city through humility, service, kindness, and the ultimate fruit of that is love.
Wonderful. Well, and you were telling me earlier about how the population has changed, but your work has remained the same. But you've had to change some of that with the type of population and the needs that they've had. Can you kind of share some of that with us?
Yes. Our city's so dynamic, as all cities are. There's change over time. And as changes happens, we have to constantly be reflecting upon how do we best honor those who are experiencing change and change our services in response to that. So one of the most recent changes that we experienced was that in 2014, Della Lamb became a refugee resettlement agency. So we have been partnering with federal and then also local state partners to welcome in sojourners from across the globe. And it's that idea of honoring our newest neighbors and seeing their dignity that we have seen an incredible effort from so many of our church partners who have said, I want to be part of this work and I want to partner in this work. As we've come out of the 2010s and some of the polarization that we've experienced related to just the dignity of people, we've been so encouraged because we've seen so many new people said, I see those who are newest to our city and I want to respond. over the course of Delalam's history, from 1897, when there was a large contingent of Italians who were in Kansas City, we've seen an evolution of a number of people from Central America and across Latin America. Now it's a number of people from Africa, with those who have experienced displacement from the Democratic Republic of Congo being the largest people group that we've resettled since 2015. And so the world continues to change, displacement continues to happen, and because of the community that works with us actively, we stand ready to receive.
That's wonderful. Tell us how you ended up in this position. You said you started in 2019?
That's right. That's right. You know, I think that that the Lord has us all on a journey. And as he brings new experiences and new people, he sanctifies. And so if I were to really point back to my own path to Delalam, I just remember having to go through a deep season of learning God's grace. And in that time, God revealed to me my own brokenness. And it's in that brokenness that he restored me. And that was a lesson of grace. But it became a true gift. And for my own walk, it became not simply a journey of what I was supposed to do or what is God's grand will for my life, but it was simply a reflection, is that, will knowing God be enough to satisfy my soul? And the answer to that is overwhelmingly and resoundingly yes. That we have the incredible blessed opportunity to be called children of God. And that's it. And that is the true satisfaction. So through this pruning, Scripture was just jumping out at me, and there is specific references to God as Father to the fatherless. And I just said, I want to know that God who is Father to the fatherless, who declares, I am Father to the fatherless. And so that took me on a different journey where I explored the world and was reflecting upon who is the one who says, those who made the world may overlook, I have declared are mine. During that journey, I visited the Middle East and experienced the displacement happening because of the Syrian civil war, and was reflecting specifically on the orphan crisis. And that's when I encountered the refugee. And it was a local church who was using their hearts and their lives simply to meet the needs of those who were coming across the border from Syria to Lebanon, that my heart was transformed. And so that became a path to Delalam, just to truly understand and reflect upon just one simple question: how can I be a good neighbor?
Well, take us through, if you would, a journey of either someone that was in the housing project you were talking about that's close to you here, mm-hmm. and then or a refugee that just is newly placed here in this community. What services would they get from you here at Delalam, and what would their journey be like? Yeah, it's so unique because those experiencing displacement across the globe, it's not a one-size-fits-all story. And so trying to understand the trauma that they've endured, the path to the United States, and also their incredible giftedness that they have. That's one thing that can be overlooked, but we shouldn't overlook, is that there is just incredible dignity that everyone bears, and also incredible giftedness. And so how do we understand that, and how do we come alongside that as they're making a transition into the United States? And so for Delalam's part, we are the first voices that someone who has been displaced from across the globe will meet as they come to the United States. Refugee resettlement is rooted in several different concepts. One, reunification or U.S. ties. That's simply the idea that those who are displaced should be resettled in an environment where there's community to meet them, that they have relationships that exist that can welcome them and help them navigate the journey. That doesn't always happen like that, but that's the idea. The other is economic self-sufficiency. Like so many of our social services programs, it's rooted in the concept of limiting the time period of dependence upon government resources and trying to get to a place where you are economically self-sufficient. And so this concept of self-sufficiency is candidly one that I wrestle with because, of course, none of us are independent.
We're all dependent upon each other. This rich community that we have on God, who is the ultimate provider and blesser. And so we work within the confines of the programs that we have. We're the first to welcome. And what does that welcome mean? That means that we identify housing, which is a challenge. There's housing shortages all across the country. And for a people group who has no work history, no credit, the number of property managers who are open to serving, and because of some regulations that exist, it's not all the property manager's fault. The number of property managers opening to receive those without credit history and employment is very limited. So already our scope of housing goes from here to here very, very quickly. And so we work with a number of property managers in order to identify housing. Once housing is secured, we welcome the family, furnish the home completely, make sure that they have the resources they need for a healthy transition, and then begin working with what we call culture orientation, which is simply an introduction to what will life look like in the United States, and employment. So housing, cultural orientation, and employment, those are our first major 3 areas that we address within the first 3 to 4 months of someone arriving. And then we try and respond to the unique needs that each family has as they continue to transition to life in the United States.
That's great. So tell me what it means for you as an organization to be one of the national mission institutions of United Women in Faith.
Yeah, the being a national mission institution reflects just the broader community that we get to work alongside and that we get to work with in addressing some of the key challenges that our respective cities face. And so just as an example of how Delalam has been so incredibly blessed by the United Women in Faith is that we wouldn't be here without United Women in Faith. This building that we have, we've been in this same location since 1962, and that's only possible because of the United Women in Faith. And so really, it has spurred us along as we've sought to know our city and respond to the needs of our neighbors. And so as we think about the legacy of impact, we're not here unless decisions are made years and years ago that allow us to be here to understand and to respond. So as I think about a day of giving, a legacy day, I think about the choices that people made long ago that have allowed and given us the opportunity to understand our neighbors, to love our neighbor, and to walk with our neighbor for years to come. So this day, I'm honoring those decisions from the past. From Della Lamb's decision to serve in the early 1900s to all the faithful servants who have come alongside, been part of this organization, either here serving us hand in hand or from afar, supporting us financially with prayers and thinking about the ways that we can impact Kansas City. It's because of those decisions from a time ago that we can be here today and looking forward to how we best shape our city to respond to the needs of those in our city.
That's wonderful. Well, I know that the donors and members who are dialing in today would absolutely love a tour. Could you take me on a little tour?
It's my pleasure. So we're stepping into our child care wing. And so just as a matter of perspective, 1897, all the deep tied work with the Italian working mother population, but it was in response to child care needs. And so even to this day, that has remained a thread of who Della Lam is and how we respond to the needs of the people in our city. So there's a message of encouragement and there's a message of opportunity here. That if you are considering being an early education professional, your city needs you. There is great teacher shortages all across the nation, and early education is no different. In fact, as we think about how do we honor those who have made this commitment to our earliest learners, our littlest learners, there's a great need for high quality teachers. In fact, the number one quality about early education program, if you had to pick one statistic alone, is the interaction between teacher and child. 90% of the brain develops before the age of 5. You're fundamentally changing not just a person's short term, but a long term. So an investment in early education is an investment in the whole person. So it's a beautiful way to spend a life. Let me take you to our child care section. So we step through the door. This building has been here since the 1960s. And so we've been refashioning it. During COVID-19, we had a church, a Methodist church, come in and paint all of our facilities, adding a lot of vibrance and color, and really helping us honor the dignity of our teachers. And our children are here every day. And so we are licensed and accredited for 133, but currently we operate at half of that, simply because there's a teacher shortage. So like I said, if you're looking to join a new industry, early education might be the one. So as we walk down, we've really redesigned it so we can respond to both the needs of our earliest learners, which is 6 weeks to pre-K age, and then we have our pre-K wing here. One thing that we were reflecting upon is that we have to have spaces that honor our teachers. And so during 2022, we opened up a new space called the Lighthouse. Now, light represents our organizational values: learning, integrity, gratitude, health, and togetherness. So we wanted a place where our team could come together, disconnect from, imagine this, be with 2-year-olds 8 hours a day, every day. You think a good place for an hour break would be good? I think the answer is easy to that. So we made what's called the Lighthouse, and I'll introduce that to you now. This is the Delaware Lighthouse. This was an effort to honor our teachers. It's got spaces that, yes, are used for lunch, but also for other gatherings.
This is beautiful.
So some of the hidden things you don't see is that we have a quiet room, so for different times of just separation from the chaos of the everyday. It can be used for post-maternity leave. It can be used for prayer needs. And so we've created a room just for that. Hidden and tucked away in the center of our building is this wonderful playground. And you're seeing evidence of hard playing sprinkled throughout. Maybe evidence of a need to clean, but I digress. As part of this playground, we had a number of groups come in and invest in painting, adding some murals, and new play equipment such as basketball goal, a sand pit, or a chalkboard on the side of the wall. I think that points to just a larger fundamental philosophy that we have, is that we as an agency cannot remain isolated from our existing community, because we're limiting ourselves, but rather tapping into the collective generosity and giftedness of our community strengthens our community. And so that's how we're shifting and have been shifting and really positioning ourselves as we enter our next 125 years. Is that really, quite simply, your engagement matters. How you give, how you serve, how you pray, how you love. It's so much richer when we do it together. And so, as an agency, we have been the benefactors of that from so many, whether it's through painting, whether it's through admin work, whether it's through coming alongside some of our refugee families and walking alongside them in their transition. Everything that we can do, we can connect with the agency, with the broader community as an agency to enhance the work that we do. Welcome to our social services wing. And so I'm excited that this will be the newest area that we renovate. And it's all in that vision and spirit of wanting to become distinctly hospitable. And so as we turn here, currently we see Della Lamb as a welcoming face alongside our office manager, Kadra, who Kadra has served here since 2001. And so we're excited about to open up this space. This wall right here will very soon be a non-existent wall. We're going to open up this space and beautify it so everyone who comes in will really know that we're glad that we get to share that moment with them. So currently this space helps families find emergency assistance. Our food pantry operates out of this space. We have some classrooms in the back wing where some of our refugee clients receive cultural orientation and English language learning, as well as some other services that we provide. So I'm excited because as we look forward, our next 125 years, we got to continue to respond and think about how do we honor those that we're receiving.
Our food pantry is open twice a week, Thursdays and Fridays, for the community and also for our new refugee arrivals, for emergency. We also have a personal hygiene, diapers for the newborn babies. And it's open also if we have emergency pickup for the airports. So it's been here almost 10 years, and I've been working here 20 years. It's really nice food pantry. We do get help from harvesters and also some churches. Country Club Christian Church is one of our funders. And we also have 2 volunteers that come in every Friday, 9 to 12. So we couldn't do it without the volunteers, and this is really good. And I was a refugee once, and I know how people feel when you don't have anything at home, and that takes me back and remembering when I was in refugee camp. So it's really very nice food pantry, and our donors are really also helping the community and our refugees also.
As we continue to think about Del-Lam and how do we evolve, how do we respond to community needs, in 2022 we launched our Health and Wellness Department, which is overseen by Claire Peterson. And so Claire has joined to help us respond to not just like physical needs for our clients, but we'll also start thinking about how do we address mental and spiritual wellness needs as well. So Claire, as you've worked with so many who have newly arrived from across the globe, how important is it for different agencies and communities and groups across Kansas City to engage in order to impact those who are coming?
Well, it certainly takes a village. We have a very distinct healthcare culture here in America. It's complicated even for Americans to be able to keep on top of all the different changes and complexities. But we also have things that they've never experienced before, like ethics and rights that are important for us to articulate to every person that comes through our doors. They have the right to privacy. They have the right to refuse treatment, and also explaining what that means. But also living in the Kansas City area, having access to healthcare is a constant burden on them. In order to really thrive in Kansas City, you need access to transportation. And getting access to healthcare is something that we all should be able to do. And teaching these people how to navigate the healthcare system and even just getting to their doctor's appointments has been definitely a group effort between us and our partners here in Kansas City.
Happy to welcome you to what's really become a launch pad for how we think about breaking generational cycles of poverty. So this is a bit of hallowed ground here, the Del-Lam Community Center. And so there's classrooms here, there's a gym court here. As I said, even back in the early 1900s, Del-Lam was one of the first agencies to launch a gymnasium in Kansas City. And so for the most recent use of this building is that we have seen so many first-time college students. Our girls travel basketball program is an elite program that starts with development in an early age and culminates into a very highly competitive basketball season in their later high school years. Last year, our 15-year-olds won the national championship in Adidas's competitive league. And so much credit to Coach Tony, Maurice, who serves as the program manager, for all the investments that they do, not just in our girls basketball program, but football, track and field, our after-school programming, and all the other programs that they lead as part of our youth services department. So on this wall, you're seeing second-generation Americans who are from Somalia. You're having Afghan refugees who recently arrived in 2021, didn't speak any English, but we're hitting markers for kindergarten readiness because of the good work of our teachers. And so as you think about Del-Lam, this is the impact you get to have. This is the beauty of your service and your gift.
Wow, thank you so much, Christy. Next up, we have been sharing so much about National Mission Institution all day. So next up, we will be joined by Jessica Tulloch and David Price to share more about our National Mission Institutions.
Good day, everyone. I'm David Price.
And I'm Jessica Tulloch. Together, we are the National Ministry staff of United Women in Faith.
We're so glad you could be here with us to learn about our unique relationship with National Mission Institutions.
Wait a minute. What are National Mission Institutions?
Before the turn of the 20th century, early women's missionary societies got to work responding to the needs of women and children from marginalized communities with the formation of mission projects, what we now call National Mission Institutions, or NMIs. As early as 1870, one such NMI, the Chinese Home, now Gunman Residence Hall in San Francisco, was founded to rescue immigrant Chinese women and children from a life of exploitation. Other NMIs were soon established over subsequent years to meet the needs of local communities across the US in the form of community centers, women's and children's residencies, and schools. These projects serve children, immigrants, formerly enslaved, indigenous peoples, working poor, to name only some. The missionary societies oversaw the construction and purchase of buildings for projects and started the Deaconess program to ensure skilled staff were positioned at NMIs to meet evolving needs. In the 1960s, NMIs incorporated as nonprofit 501c3s throughout the US. And today, we have almost 90 NMIs in a covenant relationship with United Women in Faith. They are ministries with the poor, elderly, women, children, and youth, families, and communities. They seek to empower those who are in need to witness to Christ's hope in the midst of despair and know life more abundantly.
Wow, thank you for that background. This relationship goes way back. I am amazed at how NMIs continue to serve in communities throughout the United States, serving in the margins for those who have been shunned or pushed to the edges. The work of NMIs truly responds to Christ's call to be with the least of these, to clothe the naked, feed the hungry, proclaim release to the captives. United Women in Faith supports national mission institutions through grants, technical support like board trainings and staff consultations, member connections, and peer resourcing, meaning NMIs coming together to share experiences and information with each other. In both 2021 and 2022, United Women in Faith provided more than $1.6 million in grants to national mission institutions. That's more than $3 million combined over 2 years. These grants, made possible by the gifts of our members, assisted at least more than 40,000 women with services like food assistance, transitional housing, and job training. These grants also served more than 14,000 children and youth through after school and summer programming, mental and physical health services, and early childhood education. In total, grants from United Women in Faith allowed 96,570 individuals to be assisted. And the work of national mission institutions overall reaches hundreds of thousands of people. Each time I visit a national mission institution, I'm brought to tears by the transformative work that they do. I remember the story of a 12-year-old girl that was rescued by one of our NMIs. She had been sold by her parents for a carton of cigarettes. Can you imagine this happening in the 21st century? What kind of despair this family must have been experiencing. Another NMI had done innovative work with kids that struggle with severe mental and emotional health problems. They've been kicked out of their schools, abandoned by their families, but they're able to find a safe place to live, learn, and grow through our children's residential facilities. Others increased their community feeding programs and emergency utility assistance during the pandemic when so many were laid off or out of work. And some NMIs also opened up their facilities as virtual learning hubs, as a place where kids in remote school could access internet, get a hot meal, and have a safe learning environment while their essential worker parents risk their lives to keep the country running. Some help families to nurture thriving babies to reduce infant mortality in their communities. There's so much more that national mission institutions do. We don't have enough time to talk about it all. Without the assistance of these NMIs, hundreds of thousands of people would be jobless, houseless, food insecure, dropped out of school, without health care, unable to make sense of the pain they've experienced in their lives. But the work of NMIs is not just Band-Aids. Many NMIs are engaged in vital policy advocacy to get at the root of major social and economic issues that keep many of our siblings living below the poverty line, vulnerable to domestic abuse and intimate partner violence, losing sleep, wondering how they'll pay the next utility bill or the next month's rent, who will care for their children while they go to work.
And I have a story to share too. I'll tell it in the first person, from a current youth resident at AK Child and Family, Anchorage, Alaska, enrolled in the NMI's Spiritual Life program. I came here at AK Child and Family for a lot of terrible reasons, like lack of trust and honesty. But one of the biggest reasons I came here was because I committed arson. I didn't like where I was living because it brought back too many bad memories. So I burned the place down. I learned not to do that again right after. But what else I needed to learn was why I did it and how it affected other people, not just myself. I've learned a lot of stuff while I've been here. It took me a long time to get better. I've been here for about 2 years, but now I know about respect and positivity and gratefulness, and I've learned about social activity. Before I got here, I never really talked to anyone and I didn't have any friends. But now I see that I can finally enjoy my life and I can spend a lot of time with my family. When I leave here, I'm going to do a lot more God-related stuff and meditate and try to find my way in the world. I'm going to work hard on school and get a college education. I think maybe that I will work at a treatment center, perhaps here at AK Child and Family, or maybe somewhere else. I think the best part of being here was meeting staff who have been really cool, and I will take some good considerations away from here, from being here. If I come back to work here, I will tell the kids that it is hard at first, but after a while, it will get better. I would tell them to respect others. Don't get into arguments with your peers and to enjoy your time here, because when you leave, you will probably miss it and the people who helped you. I feel ready to go home now and have a good life and to be myself and be trusting and honest and positive and respectful to myself and to others.
Thank you for sharing that story, David. The work of national mission institutions is so powerful. Our foremothers began these institutions and organizations in response to the needs of their local communities. And United Women in Faith members continue to serve their communities through the work of national mission institutions, not only through financial gifts, but through the labor of love in action. I have a video to share, David, of Quatrina Sims Shelton of the Neighborhood Center of the United Methodist Church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. She talks about how United Women in Faith members engage with that particular NMI. For some background, the Neighborhood Center is a full-service community center offering programs and services for children, youth, and adults. Let's hear what Quatrina has to say.
In addition to serving the people of Harrisburg, the center also provides the opportunity for various church groups to volunteer in the community. Over the past year, groups have provided lunches for the Summer Adventure Day Camp program. United Women in Faith have provided and organized clothing for the caring closet, have weeded and planted flowers and provided seasonal decorations for the exterior of the building, and they've spread mulch on the playgrounds for the children. Volunteers have also provided Christmas gifts for the children who otherwise would have none. The center makes a real difference in the lives of people in Harrisburg and in the lives of volunteers who help make its programs possible. We are so super grateful for the United Women in Faith in the showing of their love, their support, their ability to connect us with other resources, their donations, and above all, that I mentioned, their prayers matter. We so appreciate their prayers and just their friendships. We thank you so very much for this opportunity. Blessings to you. Have a wonderful 2023.
You know, I remember the United Women in Faith members in Nashville saying involvement with Bethlehem Centers of Nashville helped transform her by helping her to be aware of the needs of her city and how she could be of help to it.
Yes, there are several ways United Women in Faith members can get involved with national mission institutions. And it's so important, like, as you said, our member from Nashville sharing. Of course, you can volunteer. There's also an opportunity to serve on their boards. As another member said, NMIs embody what our mission is. Go and see all the miraculous things they are doing. So if you're interested to learn more about our national mission institutions, you can contact us at nmi@uwfaith.org. We also encourage you to join United Women in Faith if you're not already a member. You can go to our website and click Get Involved. That will help us to connect you to service opportunities through our national mission institutions. It's incredible to think how the work of women over 150 years ago lives on today, helping individuals, families, and whole communities to thrive. Who knows what impact our national mission institutions will have over the next 150 years. Our gifts of time, talent, love, and resources made all of this possible and will continue to make even more possible into the future. Our actions today help shape the days to come. Consider a gift to the Legacy Fund because the future is now.
United Women in Faith. We are faith, action, and sisterhood. Become a legacy builder. With a monthly recurring gift of just $18.69 or more, you can help build a strong foundation for United Women in Faith for many years to come.
Well, Kenya, you know, Legacy Builder is one of the ways I like to give. I like to set it and forget it. I signed up as a Legacy Builder, and I did that online, and I have not had to worry about that since. It comes out every month, and it's a great way to give. I also chose to pay the fees, processing fees for it, so it's a little bit more than the $18.69 a month. But each month that I give, I know that that speaks to the fact that 1869 speaks to the fact that we were founded in that year, 154 years ago, right?
Yes. Yeah, Christy, I also chose to become a legacy builder, because contributing to an organization that just creates so much impact and being a legacy builder, right? So together we're building a legacy. So yeah, so again, set it and forget it.
Could you tell us, I can't remember how many legacy builders we have right now. What's the estimate on how many are giving monthly?
We currently have 378 legacy builders.
Isn't that amazing? I just love that. And, to think about the fact that all those gifts are multiplied because they're part of the endowment. So they just continue to grow. So as people give today, and I know you're going to go over some ways to give now again for everyone, but as they give today, they can choose to give monthly on the screen, correct, online?
Correct, they can. They can choose to make a one-time gift, or they can choose to join us and become a legacy builder. To give today and tomorrow, if you want to, you can give online. You can give at uwfaith.org/Day of Giving. I love giving online. You can also call in to the phone lines. They are open today from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can call 1-800-278-7771. And you can text to give. That is Christy's favorite. You can text give to 20503. And of course, you can give by check. You can send your check in to United Women in Faith, Attention Legacy, and that's at 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 1500, New York, 10115. And remember to add Day of Giving in the memo section. And I get this question a lot. Yes, you can send your check in today.
You know, Kenya, I have been so moved by all of the programming that's been highlighted today. And I feel that way each year when we do this, even though I know that I know the work of my coworkers on a daily basis, but when we see it all together like this, it's so exciting and so motivating. It makes me so proud to be a part of it and to see the donations in action, to see the work, and to hear about the impact. It motivates me to want to continue to give myself. So I hope that everyone listening today will prayerfully consider making a gift right now. Because you know what, Kenya? The future is now.
Future is now.
When we first started talking about moving from Georgia to Washington, I started getting really sad, thinking about all the things that we were going to be leaving behind. My United Methodist Women's friends in the North Georgia Conference, in the Atlanta Decatur Oxford District, in Zora UMC, and the national mission institutions that have been so important to me, especially Murphy Hart's Children's Center. But then we got here, and I realized, aren't we all supposed to be expanding our concept of mission? And what joy it's been to make new United Women in Faith friends in the Pacific Northwest Conference and in the Crest to Coast District and at First UMC Olympia and the national mission institutions located here. It's been a joy to find out about Tacoma Community House. You know, you don't have to move all the way across the country to find new missions to support. When you're using your daily prayer guide, if you run across a mission institution you're not familiar with, go to their website, see what they do and the type of services that they provide. You know, then you'll know that on the Day of Giving, you are supporting and participating in a new mission institution.
Henry Nouwen writes in The Spirituality of Fundraising, "You won't become poorer, you will become richer by giving. We can confidently declare, with the Apostle Paul, you will be enriched in every way for your great generosity."
Up next, we'll be joined by Emily Jones, who will be sharing about our racial justice program. I am so thankful to be a part of an organization that continues to put faith into action by creating impact in eliminating all forms of institutional racism, like the school to prison pipeline. Emily?
Blessings, United Women in Faith, and happy Day of Giving. My name is Emily Jones, she, her, hers, and I'm zooming in from Lenape land in New York City. I hope that you and your families are doing well and that you are finding this Lenten season full of a blessing of its own. In today's PAC program, you are hearing a lot of updates. I know it's a lot of information to take in, but we hope that you are feeling excited and inspired by the work that we're able to do when we come together to put faith, hope, and love into action. I'm the executive for racial justice at United Women in Faith at our national offices. And in that role, I work on 3 key areas: our campaign to interrupt the school to prison pipeline, our ongoing work to implement the Charter for Racial Justice and build right relationships as a sisterhood in Christ, and our reading program. I'd like to share some brief highlights about these different areas, as well as some invitations for you to get involved. Our campaign to interrupt the school to prison pipeline is an expression of our priority area, ending mass incarceration and the criminalization of communities of color. This remains vital for us because while incarceration rates have decreased since their peak, thankfully, the result of tireless advocacy efforts, yours and many others, they still remain far too high. This is a continuing crisis and remains an unfolding racial justice emergency in need of all of our attention. The gospel mandate invites us both to visit those who are in prison and to loose all the chains that bind. We are called thus into both service and advocacy ministry, resisting the harmful policies of mass incarceration and providing support to those who are suffering its ill effects right now. We particularly want to encourage your action to interrupt the criminalization of children of color. To learn more about the biases in the system from a personal perspective, to hear some of what this criminalization looks like in a day-to-day way, please take a moment to join me in hearing from Deaconess Judith Pierre Okerson, who shares her own experience in Florida schools.
Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah.
Miami-Dade County school officials tell us they received that tip about a possible weapon on campus.
One young man brought that BB gun to school. Another student saw it and reported it to administration. I started hearing helicopter hovering over the school, siren, dogs barking. Of course, they didn't know it was a BB gun, so the school was in lockdown. He managed to put the gun in somebody else's book bag, so when they come to do the search, they will not find it on him. And the third young man that was involved in that, he was the one that advised him to put the BB gun in that other book bag. All three of them now get in trouble. All three of them went to juvenile detention, and it's prison. It was said to me that, oh, the same thing just happened to my school. However, this is a school that the students are majority white or from the rich South American country. But no police was called. I don't know if they did find a real gun or a BB gun in the book bag, but it was being handled differently. And the only punishment those kids got was a phone call home to say, talk to your child. That showed a disparity between the have and the have not. My first job really was at an alternative high school where we serve students at risk of dropping out. One day, one of my students was arrested in the classroom, and the police came and handcuffed him and put him on the floor, and I just could not take this. And while I was very emotional about that, but the rest of the students in the classroom, they so used to that, they were laughing at me, saying, oh, you have never seen that, hey, look at her, she's crying. And I was really crying saying that. So it was too much for me to take, so this is why I switched to elementary. I saw myself as an advocate for those children. It's an environment where the child should feel safe. Yes, he did something that was wrong, but at the end of the day, he's a child. The first thing that school districts should pay attention to is to provide mental health counseling to the children. This is the first priority. This is what the school should invest in counseling for the students. We still can have hope. Change can come if we do our part. The state should give more money to the schools that are Title I, to the schools that have more students with disabilities, and all kids will have an opportunity.
Glory, hallelujah.
This video can be found online, and we encourage you to share it with others in your unit and in your broader community. You can also find our 5-part Bible study on the School to Prison Pipeline online. It's available in English, in Spanish, and in Korean. This January and February, we offered a short online course led by Pastor Janelle Gale that featured an online adaptation of a couple segments, as well as a Train the Trainer workshop on how you might adapt it for your own context. We encourage you to use the study resources to lead Bible studies in your own church or unit, to go deeper into the spiritual and biblical foundations for this work of interrupting the school to prison pipeline. Our work to interrupt the pipeline is an expression of a deep and long-standing commitment to work for racial justice and to support women, children, and youth. But we know that this work of racial justice is not just about what we do in the world, how we show up out there somewhere. It is also about working to create right and just relationships in here, in our organization and in our church, as well as in our community and family. This work is fundamental to our Charter for Racial Justice, a foundational document for us here at United Women in Faith, which continues to guide our work year after year. That charter articulates some of our most important beliefs: that God is the creator of all people, and all are God's children in one family; that racism is a rejection of the teachings of Jesus Christ; that racism denies the redemption and reconciliation of Jesus Christ; that racism robs all human beings of their wholeness and is used as a justification for social, economic, environmental, and political exploitation; that we must declare before God and before one another that we have sinned against our sister and brothers, our siblings of other races, in thought, in word, and in deed; that in our common humanity and creation, all people are made in God's image, and all persons are equally valuable in the sight of God; that our strength lies in our racial and cultural diversity, and that we must work toward a world in which each person's value is respected and nurtured; that our struggle for justice must be based on new attitudes, new understandings, and new relationships, and must be reflected in the laws, policies, structures, and practices of both church and state. It is because of these beliefs that we commit ourselves as individuals and as a community to follow Jesus in word and deed, and struggle for the rights and self-determination of every person and group. These words, the words of our charter, they continue to inspire us towards change in 2023, as they have for the better part of a century. But don't take my word for it. Listen to our national president.
God has only asked us for two things: to love God and to love each other. How much love you give and receive is not based on your skin color or socioeconomic status. It's not based on your gender. Love is unconditional. Love allows us to be with one another and to carry each other's burdens. It's a mutual relationship between one neighbor to another, to one human being to another. And as a child of God, we are called to stand up against hate, against hurt, and to give more love, to breathe in that love, to breathe in that ofa, as we say in Tongan. And if God has asked us for these two things, to love God and each other, then, my friends, racism is a rejection of the teachings of Jesus Christ.
To learn more about our charter, to access free copies of the Charter Beliefs and Commitments section in Korean, Spanish, or English, or to access a list of possible actions and activities for local units of United Women in Faith connected to the charter, please visit our Mission Resources e-store. You can also find the videos, the one I just shared, and many more like it, as United Women in Faith speak to the charter's meaning today. We encourage you to share these videos as well. In addition to the work on the charter and on the campaign, in 2022, our office also took on the reading program, which we're continuing to work together on. The reading program is an incredible institution that has existed in some form or another for as long as we've been around, more than 150 years. The reading program recommends books annually in the areas of spiritual growth, social action, leadership development, nurturing for community, and education for mission. You can participate in the reading program at any level, reading just a book or two, or completing one of the designated plans, 5, 10, 15, or 20 books. This is one of my favorite programs in part because it's so accessible. When physical or economic limitations might constrain us from traveling to an event When time constraints, work obligations, or care responsibilities might keep us from participating in a specific meeting, we can lean into the reading program as a great way to grow together flexibly. Many books are available through the public library, reducing the cost of participation. And where books aren't available locally, members have gotten creative and pooled resources to create mini lending libraries of their own, sharing the cost of books and reading on a rotation. The books don't care if it's 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. Whatever works for you, the book doesn't mind. If you haven't connected with the reading program yet, we encourage you to check it out. Beginning last year and continuing this year, we also have a few new ways to connect. You can join the Mighty Network's Reading Enthusiast group, or you can sign up to join one of our quarterly live events. Author talks or book discussions. Not sure what that means? Take a quick look at our most recent author talk with Brittany K. Barnett, author of A Knock at Midnight.
I'm Janet Jones, the Reading Program Chair. And for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the Reading Program of the United Women in Faith, it's actually been in existence in one form or another for over 150 years as part of our predecessor organizations. The Reading Program encourages members to think critically about current issues through an annual selection of our member-reviewed books. It offers an excellent opportunity to deepen our understanding of our mission work and focus priorities. So the 5 chosen categories are education for mission, nurturing for community, social action, spiritual growth, and leadership development. And readers can obtain recognition for a reading book in each category in a year for Plan 1 book, and 20 books in a year for Plan 4. And I'm thinking if you read all of the books, you should get a golden star. So Brittany Barnett's book, A Knock at Midnight, A Story of Hope, Justice, and Freedom, was chosen for our 2023 list under the category of leadership development. And we are so privileged to have Brittany with us as our speaker.
I graduated from law school and I went to practice corporate law, which was always my dream. I wanted to be like Claire Huxtable from The Cosby Show. I went on to practice corporate law and I would work on deals by day and work pro bono by night on cases like Sharonda Jones. And I did that for several years. Excuse me, I've been under the weather this week, but I did that for several years and got to the point in 2016 where it was a pool. It was a huge pool to do both, and I wanted to help free as many people as I could during the remainder of President Obama's administration through this historic clemency initiative that he had. And I remember just thinking of resigning, from corporate law and truly following my passion to help transform unjust systems. And it was such a difficult decision. I mean, this was my dream. I worked so hard for this, and I had gone in-house by now, so I was out of the firm, but I remember I went to talk to my dad, who's always been my voice of reason, and I was telling him how I was struggling with the decision. I was passionate about transforming the criminal legal system, but I also was comfortable financially. I was in a position to be able to help take care of my mom and my sister if need be. I was oftentimes, especially in-house, mostly all the time, the only Black person in the room at the table within the C-suite. And so I felt kind of an obligation as well to continue to blaze that trail for other young lawyers of color coming behind me, just as the women did before me. And honestly, I enjoyed my corporate law job. I enjoyed having my thumb on the pulse of global power, if you will. And it was a difficult decision for me to make, but I knew I was being called to freedom in many ways. And I was venting to my dad, and I will never forget his words because I still think about him to this day. But he listened and he said, "Brittany, stop worrying about the challenges and imagine the possibilities instead." And it was just like in that moment, if it was a movie, the sky would have, lit up and the sun would have came out and the rainbow in the sky. But it was just like, yeah, I know what I need to do. And I took the leap.
Thank you so much. A Knock at Midnight by Brittany K. Barnett. If you have not read it yet, go out and get it. read it this week, read it this weekend, or at least begin to dive in and continue to learn and to be inspired into action.
We encourage you to stay connected and to deepen your connection. And particularly today, we thank you. We thank you for your connection, for your generosity makes this work possible.
Thank you, Emily, for sharing that riveting, important, and everyday work that takes us into the future. Christy, Kenya, what do you think about our Day of Giving?
Oh my gosh, I don't want it to be over. How about you guys? We're getting close to the end here. I don't want it to end. Kenya, I enjoy doing this so much every year with you.
I as well do not want it to end, Christy. You know, you mentioned earlier about the fact that we know, right? We know the amazing work that we do. But every year I shed a tear. I'll be honest. I shed a tear every single year. Move past that. I shed a tear every single year. And, you know, it's amazing to be here with all of you. It's amazing to be here with all of you, you know, on Day of Giving. So it's not over yet. You still have the opportunity. You can still give. If you go online today, you go to uwfaith.org, Day of Giving. If you want to call in, as we shared earlier, the phone lines are open. You can call 1-800-278-7771. The phone lines are open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you want to just pick up your phone, it takes 2 seconds. You just text GIVE to 20503. You get a link and you give. And if you're filling out your checks right now, you can send them to United Women in Faith, Attention Legacy, 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 1500, New York, New York, 10115. And remember to write Day of Giving in the memo section. We want to make sure that, you know, your gift gets matched.
Isn't that exciting that we have the match this year? And I love the fact that we give the opportunity of so many different ways to give, so people can choose what's easiest for them. You know, Shannon and Kenya, I was speaking earlier about how motivated and inspired I am by our programming, but do you know what inspires me even more, I think, is the generosity of our donors. I continue to be amazed by that, and how our members are so committed and really know how to put their faith in action through giving. Shannon, I know you saw that as a past national president. I'm sure you have some responses on that.
Well, I was fortunate as a past president. I was fortunate to see many conferences in action, not only visiting them during their celebrations, but also seeing local NMIs at work, and also hearing the stories of what was happening in the smallest of churches with the smallest of units to the largest of churches. And the one thing that always rings true is the passion and the faith that every woman I meet carries with them the work of United Women in Faith. And the Legacy Fund is their one way of putting that work and that faith into the future. They can see that the future is now because they see it on the children they work with. They see it on the faces of the women in the Response magazine that live on the other side of the world. They see it in the faces of the scholarship recipients that get to go to camp every summer. It is those opportunities that we see faith, hope, and love in action.
Oh, Shannon, that was well said. That's so true. Kenya, you know, we have been mentioning today that the proceeds from Day of Giving support the Legacy Endowment Fund. And one thing we have not mentioned yet is what the Endowment Fund is up to. Can you give them that total? I'm sure everybody would be excited to hear.
Of course, Christy. The total is $36,435,157. So exciting.
Well, and that includes major gifts, pledges, and planned gifts, correct?
Correct.
And I know it shows market fluctuation, but that's something that we certainly are all experiencing in our country right now since COVID. But the exciting thing is we are once again moving up
from what it has been. And was that as of January 31st? Is that correct?
That is as of January 31st. And that number, every time I share that number, it reminds me of the amazing things that United Women in Faith that we can do together.
Well, all those gifts donated today are multiplying, aren't they, Shannon?
They are. And the amazing thing about those gifts is that they show the faith of what their gifts can do today for the future of United Women in Faith.
We're going to keep on for another 154 years, aren't we?
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Nothing's stopping us now.
And people can continue to give for how long?
They can continue to give through the end of March. So if you put a check in the mail today, right? Obviously, it takes time to get to us. Thank you so much for your gift. Yes, you can actually call in tomorrow. That's, of course, and you can go online tomorrow as well. But yes, we will continue to receive gifts, accept your gifts through the end of this month, and you will get credit specifically towards Day of Giving. I also wanted to share, thank you so much for joining us today. But also, in your conferences, if there are events, please, support those events and go out to those events. I know Baltimore, Washington is doing something. I know Minnesota Conference is doing something. So, and I'm sure many, many, many other conferences as well. So really also support your conferences.
We cannot thank you enough for joining us today on this special day of giving. And we thank you for your generosity. And now for ascending forth. Glorious Creator, as we leave this space and go out into the world, let us keep the spirit of Day of Giving in our hearts and minds, not only the rest of the day, but tomorrow and beyond, remembering that the future is now. Amen.